Welcome to Reddit Stories, where OP's mother-in-law is destroying his marriage and he doesn't know what to do about it. My wife's mom is demanding that she divorce me. Am I the jerk for what I finally told my wife? Plus final updates. I, 36 male, have been married to my wife, who's 34, for over 12 years. We have 2 sons who are ages 10 and 8. I work full-time as a prison guard and I average about 60 hours a week. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. It's always been a demanding job, but it pays the bills. My work is stressful. I deal with dangerous people all day, and I come home physically and emotionally drained. When I get home, I just want to eat, sit down, and relax. My wife's mother has always been kind of a pain to deal with. She likes to insert her opinions into things that aren't her business and makes constant insults that are disguised as concern. In the past, my wife used to roll her eyes at her mom and laugh with me about how dramatic or entitled she was being. But over the last year or so, something has changed. My wife has started agreeing with her mom's comments more and more, even the unreasonable ones. For example, my mother-in-law says I don't help enough around the house. She tells my wife she deserves better and that I should be doing half the chores since we're both adults. That sounds fine on paper, but like I said, I work 60 hours a week. And my wife is home all day. I don't think it's unfair to expect her to take care of the home while I'm out working and providing. I don't come home and trash the place. I help the kids with homework when I can, and I do yard work on weekends. But I'm not going to come home after a 12-hour shift and start vacuuming. Her mom also complains that I don't buy my wife enough gifts, that I should be surprising her with flowers, jewelry, or whatever to keep the romance alive. What her mom doesn't seem to understand is that money is tight right now. We're barely keeping up with the bills. I can't just go out and buy unnecessary things when we're watching every dollar. But now my wife has started saying these things too, saying she feels unappreciated and unseen. It all came to a head last week. My wife told me that her mom said she could do better, that she could find someone who actually shows her love, and that she should consider divorce. What really hurt was that my wife said she was starting to believe her. She said that in the past, she just accepted how things were, but now she's seeing that maybe she deserves more. That set me off. I won't lie. I got angry. I reminded her that her mom has always been miserable and tries to poison everyone else's relationships. I asked her how she could seriously take advice from someone who has spent years bitter and alone. I reminded her that her brother-in-law, the one her mom holds up as a gold standard, only has the lifestyle he does because his parents support him. He barely works, and everything is handed to him. I told her that if she really thinks she can do better, then maybe she should go ahead and try. I said if she wants to leave, then go. But don't expect me to sit here and take lectures about how I don't do enough when I'm the one working myself to the bone to provide for this family. She didn't say much after that. Just packed a few things and took the boys to go stay with her mom for a few days. That was 4 nights ago. She's texted me a few times to say the boys are doing fine, but she hasn't said anything else. I've had time to calm down, and I admit I didn't handle it well. I lost my cool, but I also feel like I've been pushed to the edge and no one is standing up for me, not even my wife anymore. So now I'm just asking here, am I the jerk for what I said to my wife? Did I cross a line? Or is this just a situation that's been building up for too long? And what can I do to make this right, if anything? Not the jerk. You work 60 hours a week in one of the most mentally and emotionally draining jobs out there, and somehow you're still getting told you're not doing enough? Your wife is letting her mom ruin your marriage, and that kind of manipulation can sneak in fast if no one draws a line. You snapped because you're being pushed past your limits, not because you're heartless. She needs to decide if she wants a partner or a fantasy. Not the jerk. Her mom 100% sounds like the kind of person who can't stand to see other people happy, especially if it reminds her of what she doesn't have. Some family members thrive on chaos because it makes them feel important or in control. People like that love watching relationships fall apart, then swoop in acting like the voice of reason. Honestly, it's sad, but it's also dangerous if your wife keeps letting her mom's bitterness steer the wheel. Update. So it's official now. My wife told me she wants a divorce. We talked on the phone last night, and she said that being away from me for the past few days gave her clarity. According to her, it made her realize she doesn't need me as much as I need her. She said she feels like she's been carrying the emotional load of our marriage for too long, that I don't feel like a partner anymore, more like an adult child she's been managing. Hearing her say that just gutted me. I tried to stay calm at first, but then I lost it. I said something like, "Of course you don't need me. You just need my paycheck, don't you?" That set her off. She snapped right back and said my paycheck isn't even cutting it these days, and that she knows she could find someone who actually makes a decent salary. Then she threw in that our kids deserve better. I can't even describe what that did to me. I've given everything I have to this family. I've worked myself sick, taken every overtime shift I could, and sacrificed every hobby and comfort just to make sure our bills were paid and our kids had what they needed. I told her that she has no idea what it feels like to walk into a prison every day, to carry that kind of stress home, and then be told that I'm still not doing enough, that I've been busting my tail so we could have a home and food on the table, and somehow that's not even good enough anymore. Then, out of nowhere, her mom jumped on the phone. I guess she'd been listening in. She said it's not her daughter's fault that I can't provide properly for my family, and that I should have fixed this situation a long time ago, but now it's too late. That was it for me. I completely lost it. I told her the only thing I should have fixed a long time ago was her, because she's been turning my wife against me for years. Always whispering in her ear, always undermining our marriage, always acting like she knows best when she's been alone and bitter for as long as I've known her. She hung up after that, and my wife didn't call back either. I don't know what happens next. Maybe I should have just kept my mouth shut. Maybe I should have said something sooner. Or maybe this was always where things were heading and I just didn't want to see it. Right now, everything feels upside down. I can't eat, I can't sleep, and I don't even know what I'm supposed to be feeling anymore. I don't know if I'll post again. The whole thing has just made life feel surreal. Nothing makes sense, and I keep going back and forth between feeling angry, heartbroken, and just plain lost. So sorry to hear how it's turned out, OP. I know divorce can feel like the world is ending, but it's not. It's just a door closing that might actually be leading you towards something better. A lot of people go through heartbreak thinking it's the end, only to look back later and realize that was the beginning of something much healthier. Right now, your wife isn't showing you love or loyalty, and maybe it's time to ask yourself if you're the one who actually deserves more. You've given so much, and it's possible this pain is just the path clearing for someone who will truly respect and stand beside you. Update 1 year later. It's been a full year since everything fell apart. I'll be honest, the first few months after the divorce were some of the darkest I've ever experienced. I was barely sleeping, started drinking more than I should have, and work just became another place to feel stressed and empty. I honestly didn't think life would ever feel normal again. Then something happened a few months back that completely changed me. It was during one of my weekends with the boys. We were just hanging out at home, watching a movie, nothing special. Out of nowhere, my older son, who's 11 now, looked at me and said, "Dad, I know you always did your best. I just wanted to tell you that I'm not mad at you." My youngest then agreed, saying he wasn't mad at me either, that he just missed me. That broke something open in me. I didn't even know how to respond. I just hugged both my boys and cried, quietly, just sitting there with them on the couch. For so long, it had felt like the world saw me as the villain in a story that I never wanted to be part of. And hearing my son say that, hearing them acknowledge me, see me, that cracked something open and let light in for the first time in a long while. That was the moment I realized I really did do my best. I made mistakes, sure, but I loved my family and worked myself to the bone trying to keep things together. And you know what else hit me? I realized everyone else has just been doing their best too. My wife, yes, she let her mom get in her head. Yes, she turned on me. But in her mind, at the time, that probably felt like the right thing to do. I stopped blaming her that day. Something in me let go of all the resentment. I couldn't hold on to the anger anymore because it just didn't serve anything. Later that same night, something else unexpected happened. She called me. Not a text about the boys or a schedule change, an actual phone call. I picked up, surprised, and asked what was going on. She sounded different now, pretty sad. She said, "I just needed to talk to you for a bit if that's okay." I said sure. Then she told me something I never thought I would hear. She said she was sorry for how everything went down, that she realized her mom had really gotten into her head and twisted the way that she saw me. She said she stopped seeing me for who I actually was, and that wasn't fair. I thanked her for saying it, told her I appreciated it, and then I told her the truth. I don't hold it against her. I know she was doing what she thought was best. We all are. That's when she started crying, like really crying. She said things have been hard for her too, that she misses me more than she ever expected, and that her anger has turned into sadness. She said she regrets her decision and feels like she tore our family apart for nothing. I just listened, and for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to fix anything. I wasn't panicked or desperate to change the outcome. I cared for her, I still do, but I was no longer inside her emotional storm. I was standing outside of it, just watching with compassion. She asked me if I would ever consider trying again. I told her that right now emotions are high, and not to ask me something like that unless she was absolutely sure. The truth is, I already knew my answer was no. I didn't say it, not that night. She was already in pain, and it didn't feel right to pile on. But in my heart, I knew that chapter was over. That night, I went to sleep feeling something that I hadn't felt in over a year. Peace. It's like for the first time, everything was okay. I wasn't angry. I wasn't lost. I wasn't waiting for someone to tell me I mattered. I just felt calm, like the worst of the storm had passed, and I was finally standing on solid ground. So yeah, life goes on, and I think it's actually getting better now. I'm really glad to hear you found peace. That shift you described, where you realized most people are just doing their best with what they know at the time, that's such a powerful place to get to. It doesn't excuse everything that happened, but it helps you let go of resentment and stop wishing things had gone a different way. And I have to say, it was incredibly kind of you not to shut her down on that call. You could have easily used that moment to hurt her, to throw it all back in her face and say this is what she deserved. But you didn't. You held your boundary without using it as a weapon. That takes real emotional maturity, and I admire the way you handled it. You know, Karen, sometimes the real win is when someone chooses to let go of anger, not because they lost, but because they finally see that holding on to it only hurts them. That's real power, Reddit boy. When you stop needing to be right or to win, and instead, you just understand. Not for the other person's sake, but for your own freedom. And the real moment of wonder, it's not the reconciliation. It's when you realize you don't need it to be okay. You just need to stay rooted in your own center, even if the other person never gets there themselves. Exactly. Because love isn't about fixing people or changing them. It's about seeing them clearly, letting go with compassion, and remembering that peace isn't something they can give to you. It's something that only you can give to yourself, and it only comes from within. My boyfriend of 8 years won't marry me. So I, 32 female, have been dating my boyfriend who's 36 for 8.5 years. We've lived together for 5 of those in his old apartment that's honestly too small for both of us, but somehow still feels like home. And I'll start by saying this. He's a really good man. Not just good to me, but to everyone. He's the kind of guy who will help a stranger push their stalled car in the rain or buy his friend's lunch without a second thought. We've had our rough patches like any long relationship, but the last 2 years have been solid. The kind of easy, comfortable, grown-up love you hope to get to after the stormy part of your 20s. He supported me through finishing my degree, always showed up when I needed him, and he's affectionate in the quiet, steady way that makes you feel safe. Basically, we live like a married couple. Bills together, dinner together, lazy Sunday mornings with coffee and shows we've both already seen twice. But that's the thing. We're not married. I've wanted to get married for a while now, not just to say I did it, but because to me, marriage means we're building something that's official, a celebration, a promise, and honestly, a bit of legal security. I've told him this plenty of times. A few years ago, when things weren't so great between us, I brought it up, and he admitted he wasn't sure about our future back then. That hurt, but we worked on it and came out stronger. Now everything's great. We talk about the future all the time, moving somewhere bigger, maybe traveling more, maybe even revisiting the topic of kids someday. But here's the part that's been eating at me. There's still no proposal. Every time someone asks how long we've been together, I can feel their surprise when I say over 8 years. People laugh like it's a joke. Wow, and no ring yet? It's like every wedding we attend just makes the silence between us on the subject louder. I've kind of made two small ultimatums. First, I said I wouldn't buy a house with him unless we're married. I said it half jokingly, but I meant it. And second, I told him I refused to celebrate hitting 10 years together as boyfriend-girlfriend. It sounds silly, but I just don't want to keep pretending that's fine when it's not. Still, I don't think I could actually walk away. Our life together is too good in every other way. He makes me laugh every day. He still kisses my forehead when I'm half asleep. But every time another anniversary rolls by, a little piece of me starts to resent how comfortable he seems with the way things are. It's not about being a fairy tale princess or wanting a big, expensive party. Where I'm from, weddings aren't even that over the top. They're just these beautiful get-togethers that celebrate love and bring families together. I want that. I want the moment where we stand in front of everyone we care about and promise each other forever. I just don't know if he'll ever want it too, and I don't know how to bring it up again without sounding like I'm giving him an ultimatum. So yeah, that's where I'm stuck. How do I get him to finally make a move, or at least be honest if he never plans to? I'm tired of waiting in this limbo where everything looks perfect, but still feels incomplete. Maybe you could propose to him yourself. That way, you'd know where he really stands instead of just waiting and guessing. OP, I've thought about that, but I know myself too well. I think I'd end up resenting him for not taking the step first. It's not about gender roles or pride. It's just that I want to feel wanted, not tolerated. It sounds like you both communicate well about most things, except the one thing that really matters to you. You don't need to joke about it anymore. Just sit down and ask him directly what his long-term plan is. If he dodges or avoids it, that tells you more than any ring could. Update. So, a lot has changed since I wrote my post. After reading through everyone's comments, I realized most of what was driving me crazy was my own anxiety and how I had been comparing my timeline to everyone else's. I'm a huge overthinker, and every time I'd scroll through social media or see another engagement post, I'd start wondering what was wrong with us. A week before our big trip, I finally tried to bring it up to him again, just casually. I asked him where he stood on marriage, and he got weirdly quiet. He tried to change the subject, which sent my brain straight into panic mode. I thought, great, he's never going to do it. He's just coasting until I give up. But later that night, he noticed I was upset and set me down. He said the reason he had been brushing off the topic was because he already had something planned and didn't want to spoil the surprise. He wasn't lying. On the trip, we went to one of our favorite places, the same spot where we had once gone when we first started dating, back when we were still figuring everything out. It was quiet and it was just us, with a little music playing in the background and the smell of the sea. He pulled out a ring. It wasn't a big performance or anything, just simple, genuine, and so him. I didn't even cry right away. I just started laughing, like all the years of worrying had turned into relief. He had thought everything through, even managed to record it somehow without me noticing. The proposal itself wasn't what made me emotional. It was realizing that he had been planning it while I'd been convincing myself he never would. We've been engaged for a few weeks now, and honestly, it's so peaceful. We're not rushing wedding plans, just enjoying the new chapter. I keep catching myself smiling like an idiot because all that heaviness I'd been carrying is finally gone. I guess what I've learned is that not every long wait is a red flag. Sometimes it's just timing. Sometimes the person really does love you, and they're just waiting until it feels right. Obviously, I'm not saying to ignore any signs, but you have to look inside the relationship rather than compare to others and seek external validation. If you're in that spot where you're wondering whether you're wasting your time, I can't tell you what your story will look like, but I can tell you mine ended up being worth the wait. I appreciate you all for the advice and for being part of our journey. This is exactly what I needed to hear. I've been with my boyfriend for 6 years and starting to feel that same panic creeping in. Reading this made me realize maybe I should relax and focus on what we do have instead of what's missing. Congratulations! The proposal sounds perfect. Sometimes people just have different clocks when it comes to big commitments. The fact that he was planning it all along says a lot about how seriously he takes it. So she spent months spiraling over no proposal, and he was out there secretly planning the perfect one? The poor guy's probably just trying to pick the right ring while she's mentally packing her bags. Moral of the story, sometimes silence means surprise, not disaster. Yeah, or maybe just let the man catch up before you start planning your escape route. Am I the jerk for going off on my friend for getting mad at me because I won't hang out with his cheater girlfriend? I've got a friend I've known since high school. We've gone through the usual ups and downs over the years, but this time he really put me in a situation I didn't think I'd ever have to deal with. A few months back, he asked me to stop by his place to grab some stuff he had forgotten since I had a spare key. It was supposed to be simple. Nobody was supposed to be home. His girlfriend, who I'll call Jess, worked during the day and he was out of town. When I pulled up to his driveway, I noticed her car parked there. Beside it was a truck that I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped. I knew what that usually meant. I sat in my car for a minute, hoping there was another explanation. Maybe she had let a friend borrow the driveway. Maybe the truck belonged to a neighbor. But deep down, I already knew. I snapped a few pictures of the cars before heading to the door. The blinds were half open, and as soon as I looked inside, there it was. Jess, on the couch, tangled up with a guy I'd never seen before. I didn't make a scene. I didn't say a word. I just took a few pictures and left. I wasn't about to be part of that mess. I called my friend right away. He answered, sounding happy at first. Then his voice changed when he heard mine. I told him I needed to see him in person, and an hour later, we met up in the parking lot behind a small diner. I showed him the pictures. He didn't get loud or cry. He just stared at them like he was trying to make sense of what he was seeing. Then he gave this short nod and said he had started to suspect something anyway. He confronted her that night. She tried the usual lines, how it was a mistake. It only happened once. She still loved him. It didn't mean anything. But the lies unraveled fast. She admitted to seeing another guy months before that and sleeping with this new one more than once. He kicked her out. For the first time in a long time, I thought maybe he was finally done letting people walk all over him. For a while, it looked like he was moving on. Then a few weeks later, he told me he had taken her back. I tried to be polite about it at first, told him I hoped he knew what he was doing, but I stopped going over when she was around. I wasn't about to sit there making small talk with someone who'd betrayed my friend and hated my guts for catching her. A month later, he asked why I barely came around anymore. We met for lunch, and I guess he didn't like the truth. He asked, "Why don't you come by? We barely hang out anymore." I said, "You know why. I'm not hanging around with Jess. She cheated on you. I caught her, and she hates me for it." He said she didn't hate me, that he had forgiven her and things were fine now. Then he asked me to come over that night and said she wanted to see me too. I told him that wasn't happening, that I hoped he was happy, but she was still trash in my eyes, and I wasn't going to pretend otherwise. That hit him wrong. He said, "Why do you even care? She didn't cheat on you." I said, "Because I watched what she did to you, and I can't unsee that. You want to pretend it never happened? Fine. But I can't sit there acting like it's normal while she plans how to sneak around again. You can forgive her if you want, but I don't have to." He went quiet after that, just staring at his drink. I paid for my food and I left. Later that night, he texted asking if I really thought she was a horrible person. I said yes, and that I hated her, and that I'd keep my distance from both of them until he figured things out. Since then, we haven't really talked. I heard from mutual friends that he and Jess hang out with the group sometimes, but it's awkward. Everyone knows what she did. No one wants to be around her, but they're too polite to say it. So yeah, maybe I was harsh, but I can't stand fake people, and I'm not about to babysit someone who refuses to see what's right in front of them. Did I go too far? Maybe. But I'd rather lose a friend than keep quiet and watch him drown himself in denial. Your reaction is understandable. You were the one who caught her. You saw it with your own eyes. No one should expect you to play nice after that. You set a boundary, and that's not harsh. It's actually healthy. You're not responsible for making things comfortable for them, especially when your friend decided to take back the person who disrespected him and you both. You didn't owe him kindness in that moment. You told him the truth even if it stung. If anything, you were the only one actually on his side. You didn't lie to spare his feelings. You tried to wake him up. Some people have to get burned twice before they believe that the fire's hot. Update. A few months passed before I heard from him again. I figured that was the end of it, that he'd keep playing house with her while I stayed out of it. But yesterday, he called me out of nowhere. He sounded drained, like someone who hadn't slept. He said he finally kicked her out for good. Turns out she had been begging for weeks when he took her back, promising to earn his trust again. He agreed, but with one condition: full transparency. She had to share passwords for her phone, laptop, and console. No secrets, no excuses. At first, she went along with it. Then a few weeks later, she started acting weird. He noticed she had changed her phone passcode. When he asked about it, she flipped out, started yelling that he was controlling her, that he should trust her by now. That was it for him. He told her to leave. She tried to backtrack, offered him the phone, said she had changed the password back, but he told her it was too late. He said the relief he felt in that moment outweighed any sadness. I went over to help him pack her things. We boxed everything up and stacked it by the door. I didn't stick around when she came to pick them up, but his sister told me later she showed up sobbing, trying to hug him, even asking for one last kiss. His sister had to get between them. Honestly, I'm just glad it's over. Tonight, I'm heading to his place with some pizza and beer. He's still my friend, even if he made some dumb choices. Everyone has. I just hope next time he learns to recognize when someone's no good for him. At least now, when we hang out, I won't have to hear Jess talking through every single movie. Small blessings. You handled this the way a real friend should. You told him the truth, stood firm, and were there when it all came crashing down. That's loyalty. Sometimes being a good friend means letting them fall on their face for a bit, then helping them back up. You were patient even if you didn't feel like it. I hope he realizes what kind of a friend he's got in you. So he caught her cheating, told his friend, and somehow he's the bad guy? Classic. Right? Some folks would rather blame the messenger than face the mess. At least the dude finally dumped her. Took long enough. Yeah, nothing like karma served with a moving box and tears. My cheating ex is trying to get me to be a father to her affair partner's son after he ghosted them. Okay, to cut a long story short, I met my ex at a mutual friend's party. We got together. 6 months into the relationship, she got pregnant and had my son, Peter. When Peter was 1 year old, I caught her cheating with her friend. I found out later that they had been hooking up with each other on and off ever since we got together. I kicked her out. I was blindsided, not going to lie. She had no remorse for what she did. I wanted to completely cut her off, but I had Peter to consider. Despite her being a cheater, she's still a good mother. I'll give her that, and adored him. So for my son's sake, I reluctantly put away my pride and agreed to co-parent Peter. She moved in with a affair partner. She then announced that she was pregnant. I said good luck. She said there's a possibility I could be the father, as me and her were hooking up during the time she was cheating on me. We got the DNA test done, and I am not his father. It also got me worried about Peter, and I got him tested too. I was relieved to find out that he actually is mine. Anyway, on to the present. Peter is now 6 years old. His brother Daniel is 5. I didn't really have any interaction with Daniel, as my ex never really brought him with her when she dropped off Peter. But the times he was with her, he mostly just stayed in the car. My ex dropped Peter off to me, and she looked like she had been crying. Before I could ask if she was okay, she left. It was Peter who told me that Daniel's daddy hadn't come home for a long time, and his mother had been crying the whole time that he's been at her place. This bothered me because I didn't want my son around their drama. I was going to talk to my ex about this when she showed up to pick up my son. When she did, she had Daniel, and he got out and ran to me and hugged my leg and said, "Hi, Daddy." I was a bit taken aback. I just awkwardly patted his head and gently told him, "I'm not your daddy, sorry." He looked at me confused and said that my ex told him I'm his new daddy. I looked at my ex and she avoided eye contact. I told Peter to show Daniel his room. Ex didn't say anything. When they went inside, I said, "What the heck are you telling this kid?" She broke down crying and said her affair partner had ghosted them a month ago and she doesn't even know where he is. Daniel had been asking where his dad is, so she told him that I'm his new dad. I got angry and told her I'm not his dad. She said, "But I can be, and that he needs a father." I told her to go find his real father then. She just kept crying and got into her car and left without Daniel. I tried calling her, but she wouldn't answer. Daniel came out asking where she went and he looked frightened. I told him that she'll be back and he started crying. In desperation, I called her parents and they showed up to pick up Daniel. I explained what happened and they apologized. I was angry, so I called my sister to tell her about it, And she said that it wasn't really that much of a problem that I be there for him. He's innocent in all of this, and he is Peter's brother. Just think about it. I hung up. Problem is, I have been thinking about it, and it's really messing with my head. I know he's innocent, but it's not my job, is it? Don't invite that responsibility into your life. She messed around, and now she's finding out. Sure, Daniel is innocent, but so are you. A lot of people are innocent. That doesn't mean they are our responsibility. Raising kids is expensive and takes a lot out of you. Plus, she sounds like a give an inch, take a mile kind of person. Don't give her anything. Doubtful she will stop messing around in the future, and if you take on her responsibilities, it will never end. Come on now, use your thinking brain. If you take on even an ounce of responsibility for him, she can have legal grounds to say you agreed to take care of both of them. Block out the noise and take care of your son. Her son is not your responsibility. Also, for everyone saying the kid is innocent in all of this, so are you. You did nothing to her. You didn't cheat, you didn't mistreat her, you didn't lie. She did. Stop letting people get in your head and focus on your son. And let her know that if she tries that again, there will be consequences. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his ex? Please let us know. These stories just amaze me. I never knew how many trash people there were in the world. Am I the jerk for suggesting that we lock up the Christmas presents after what my niece did last year? Every year, my siblings and I, along with our families, spend Christmas with our parents. We stay at their house for a few days. Everyone opens gifts together. It's hectic, but it's a lot of fun. The kids enjoy having one big sleepover with their cousins. My mom likes having everyone home again. We all pitch in, and it's a win-win. Well, last year, my brother married Sally. She has a 7-year-old daughter, Mindy. This was their first Christmas with us. It seemed like they were having a fun time. Christmas Eve, all the kids went to the finished basement to sleep. We told the kids to not open up gifts without us and to wake us up when they did. This was repeated several times. Once the kids were asleep, we put all the gifts under the tree and eventually we went to bed ourselves. The next morning around 6 a.m., I wake up early and head downstairs. I find the living room a mess. Half of the gifts were unwrapped. Several of them had been somebody got into those gifts. Several of them had been ripped from their boxes. There was Mindy playing with some of the toys. Most of the ones weren't even hers. She knows how to read, and they were all labeled, so she knew this. I was in shock. I went and got my brother, Sally, alongside the rest of the adults. Sally was super embarrassed. My mom was very upset. The other kids weren't up yet, so we tried to salvage what we could while Sally talked to Mindy. Not everything could be fixed, and she had broken a couple of the toys completely. The broken ones weren't even her own toys. Luckily, not everything was damaged, and even the boxes that were, the kids didn't notice. But my nephew, my sister's son, had one of his big gifts destroyed, and he was sad when everyone else got theirs, while he was told he'd have to wait for a new one to come back in. Sally and my brother reimbursed everyone. Mindy didn't get to open gifts with everyone, but joined the festivities later. She apologized, but kept making excuses. She said she didn't want to wait, and she wanted to see what everyone else got. I bet she did. We're all preparing to go to my parents again this year. I put in the group chat that we should either lock the door to the living room this year or put a gate around the tree so no one can get to it. Like a doggy gate? I didn't mention specific names. I just said so that no one could get to the tree. Sally and my brother got mad, accusing me of treating Mindy like a baby or an animal. I said I'm not, but this is a precaution so none of the kids are tempted. They said this isn't necessary and I'm holding a mistake over Mindy's head. I said no, I'm not. I'm trying to make sure that we don't have a repeat here. Am I the jerk? I mean, why wouldn't you do this? It kind of isn't even about Mindy. Although of course it's about Mindy. She ruined Christmas and broke a lot of other people's toys. But you have a bunch of other kids who are notoriously bad with impulse control. Why not lock the door or put a gate around the tree? Any kid could be tempted by sleeping parents and gorgeously wrap presents under a lit tree. She's still only 7. Also, if your kid acts like a baby, they should be treated like one. Come on, Sally. The girl opened half the Christmas presents and you and your husband had to shell out to replace them. Wouldn't you rather lock the room than risk having to put out and feel embarrassed all over again? Not the jerk. Just get a crate to keep Mindy in. Problem solved. Am I the jerk for canceling Christmas this year? Title says it all. I'm the sole provider for my family. All credit cards are maxed, negative bank balance, upcoming missed payments until my next check. basically destitute for the foreseeable future. My wife and I usually decorate on Black Friday, but this year I don't want to. The thought of putting up our fake tree, knowing I'll have nothing to put under it, fills me with such a mix of shame, anger, and pain. I would prefer to just let December pass and cut out as many things as I can until I get my finances under control. Plus, my daughter is 2. She won't know, care, or even remember one missed Christmas. So, am I the jerk? I'm already a failure as a husband and father, so what say you here? You're the jerk. Decorating with stuff you have won't cost anything, but you will make your wife happy. Christmas isn't about presents under the tree. It's the memories you make around the tree with the people that you love. Let her decorate if she wants to. You're also a jerk to yourself in this post. Listen, debt cripples people. It crushes them and spits them out, so it has room to gobble up another guy. You aren't a failure. You gotta be nicer to yourself, man. Good luck. No jerks here. But just because you don't have anything under the tree doesn't mean you can't celebrate. Don't celebrate the presents, or lack thereof. Celebrate the things you do have. A wife who loves you, a daughter who will be thrilled to just spend time with her father. No need to spend money to celebrate. There's absolutely no need to feel shame just because you can't afford things. You're the jerk, but I say that gently. Your kid is only 2. You can make the best Christmas with very little. You have a month to look on Facebook Market. Do you have Nextdoor in your area? We've gotten a bunch of free stuff for the kids that neighbors give away. Check garage sales. My oldest thinks he's the king of the world if we give him $5 and take him to the dollar store. It's all junk that ends up in the trash eventually from breaking, but he loves it. Stream a Christmas movie and have cocoa. If you have access to a printer, print a bunch of Christmas coloring pages and have a color party. Walmart has $1 bathtub paint that's basically soap. Don't be so hard on yourself. There will be plenty of Christmases where you can go all out, and those will be remembered. Update. This has spun out of control. I never thought my sad man pity party would get this kind of response. I was expecting to be called a jerk, validate my self-loathing, and claw my way out of debt by working harder. I did not expect the absolute torrent of love and support that I in no way deserve or can accept. And I'm sorry for not making this crystal clear in my original post. Our mortgage and utilities are paid. There's food in our fridge, and my next paycheck is secure, even though it too will all go to bills with none left over for gifts. I pretended not to notice that we weren't keeping up our pre-child lifestyle without credit cards, and I got in over my head and now have to dig myself out of a relatively deep hole, meaning I won't have money for gifts and meals out and holiday gatherings and whatnot for a good bit of time to come. But I have a great job and an outstanding family support system who all live close by and know what debt feels like and will understand if we can't chip in this year with anything but our presence. But it just felt shameful to have the advantages I have and still manage to mess it up as bad as I did without asking for help. As for all the people begging me to accept help, here's why I can't. I make a good salary. There's no chance of me or my family going hungry. We have food and will have money for food budgeted into my paychecks, which are secure as my job is secure. I have an extremely well-funded 401k from 18 years of office work and my life insurance to safeguard my family. Thank you to everyone who is offering food. Thank you to those who offered to buy my 2-year-old's Amazon wish list. She's 2 and doesn't have a wish list. My wife and I had already decided that she has too many toys, so we only had things like books and a learning tablet in mind for her. She'll be okay if we can't buy her stuff. She already has stuff. Her close-in-age cousins live on our street, and we exchange toys and clothes all the time, and both of our houses are cluttered with stuff. Am I the jerk for telling my daughter's boyfriend to go home? I picked up my daughter's boyfriend, Ron, not his real name, from his house Friday night so we could watch a Christmas movie together. My daughter, Molly, not her real name, and I had already had dinner at a restaurant after Christmas shopping, but he hadn't, so I offered to make him dinner. Ron wanted to prepare something on his own, so I told him he could use our kitchen. He's done this before, is responsible, and uses our equipment with care. By the way, they're both 17. We get home and he walks into the kitchen, which was a mess, and that's my fault. I hadn't had time to clean it up after cooking dinner the night before. Ron says he can't work like this and proceeds to clean up the kitchen with my daughter's help. I left the kitchen to do something else. A few minutes later, I walk into the kitchen to make tea, and I hear my daughter say the mess is due to my procrastination. So I explained that I had been up since 3 a.m. I worked the early shift and hadn't had time to clean the kitchen because I had other things to take care of, and I had to take her Christmas shopping after work. She asked if I was done. I went to the living room to watch TV. Minutes later, Ron goes outside with a small compost bucket for kitchen scraps to dump in the large bin provided by the city. He walks back in, complaining about the gunk that's stuck in the bottom which did not fall out. It's a mixture of coffee grounds and bacon fat, so it's hard to shake it out. He tells me he's going to hose it off outside. As he's leaving, I remember that the outdoor hose is off because it's winter, so I yell, "Come back! The hose won't work. It's turned off." My daughter tells me not to yell, and I tell her to tell him the hose won't work. It's winter. This is the second time in a week that he's expressed disgust at our kitchen scraps bucket, so I'm getting irked about it because I take it as a criticism whether he means it that way or not. Also, the fact of his parents' kitchen always being clean is something that he and my daughter have made a point of mentioning a few times. Ron returns with a bucket and Molly washes it out in the sink. When she's done washing it, he comes to the living room holding one bucket, explaining that he's going to put parchment, baking paper, in the bottom to prevent gunk from sticking to the bottom again. I interrupt him and ask him to please not tell me about it because I'm not interested. He continues and I ask him again not to tell me. I don't want to know. He has a puzzled expression on his face and starts again. I tell him to stop talking about it, and if he can't stop, to go home because I don't want to hear about it. He stops and leaves the living room to join Molly in her room. About 15 minutes later, Ron says goodnight and leaves. Molly has asked me to apologize to Ron, and I'm having a hard time convincing myself that I was in the wrong. You're the jerk. In fact, everybody is a bit of a jerk here, but your daughter and her boyfriend are jerks in such innocuous ways, and you are a jerk in such a petty way. Your daughter didn't need to tell her boyfriend under your roof, "My mom is a procrastinator, that's why the kitchen is a mess." The boyfriend didn't need to make a big deal about the state of the kitchen or the state of the compost bin. They were rude, to the point of jerk territory, because yes, they're young, but they're also almost adults. They should know better. You, on the other hand, geez, insecure much? A 17-year-old came in your kitchen and helped your daughter clean it. He said it was messy. Wah! I gave him clear instruction and he didn't hear me. Of all solutions, I decided to yell. He made comments about my dirty compost bin. Yes, sure, he took initiative to empty it, clean it, and prevent further gunk, but I didn't need to hear about it. Wah! Come on. He was even polite enough to still say goodnight before leaving, even though you kicked him out for such a petty reason. He's doing you a favor. He's maybe a bit rude about it, but there were so many other ways to better handle it. Jeez, who's the adult here? You missed the most important part. OP admits it's their mess that they left and then goes and sits in another room while letting two kids clean up the mess they admit was theirs to clean, and then has the gall to complain about them not being pleasant and quiet and uncomplaining when they clean what sounds like a substantially messy room. You openly say that your food bin gets gunked up all the time, and Ron seems to be trying to make your life easier and is just letting you know and seeing if you're okay with it because you're the adult in the household. Listen, if you're ashamed to have him clean your mess and have feelings about it, then why not clean it yourself? Or at least be one of the cleaning. Let me guess, you expected Ron to clean up after himself had he stayed, right? You're the jerk. You're the jerk. This is what happens when you choose to raise your kids in a fatherless home. They grow up to disrespect you and bring partners over who will also disrespect you. There's a reason families are supposed to have a mother and a father, just like cities need police and social workers. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Ron and Hermione? Please let us know. Your mom works a full-time job and she goes to work at 3 a.m. Instead of complaining about your mom's procrastination in the dirty kitchen, why not just clean it yourself? We lose a lot of subscribers when you say things like that. Fine with me. Maybe we can gain some new subscribers who have brains. Hit that subscribe button if you have a brain. Am I being selfish by leaving my husband at home for Christmas? Context. I'm 39, female. My parents and I live across the country from each other. My older brother and his family live closer to them, but still requires a flight to visit. My dad, who's 73, passed away from a year-long battle with pancreatic cancer in mid-September. My mom, who's 73, has also been in the process of diagnosing why she has increasing memory issues, specifically with language, understanding words and remembering names of everyday things. Right after he passed, my mom's cognitive test showed a significant decline, and she's currently in the process of being diagnosed with either Alzheimer's or dementia. My brother, who's 44, and I were by our dad's side when he passed, and my husband, who's 44, flew in quickly after. We then had a memorial service about a month later in late October where lots of extended family attended, and it was lovely. To top it off, the week before Thanksgiving, my friend/coworker, 42 male, passed unexpectedly. I'm devastated. Thanksgiving. My husband and I stayed local and had a nice low-key holiday with his parents. My mom, brother, and much of my family got together on the other side of the country. Christmas plans. I have 2 weeks off work. It's my mom's 74th birthday on the 23rd. It's also my 40th birthday on January 1st. My brother and his family plan to go for an extended time, just as I would ideally like to be with her at this time and to work on getting the house ready to be sold in the next 3 to 6 months and figure out if she needs to move into memory care and where, etc. Dilemma. It's very expensive to fly across the country for Christmas, and my husband is very practical with spending money. However, I don't really care how much it costs right now. My mom needs me. I also need my mom. I'm reeling from what's been going on. Plus, her biggest challenge is communicating and using technology, so even FaceTime is tricky, and I don't know how much time we have left with her. My husband is saying I'm being selfish for leaving him alone at Christmas and to deal with the dog in the house. He thinks it's enough that my brother is going to be there with her and that we were just there twice, for my dad's final breaths and subsequent funeral. So we should just go sometime in January or February. Husband will technically not be alone while I'm gone. His brother, with a wife and kids, and parents live nearby, and another brother, also wife and kids, will be visiting for 3 weeks. I've said he could come with me and we figure out who can watch the dog. His response is that it's too much money and he doesn't view it as a vacation since the bed in my old room is small, etc. He has suggested that we should go away somewhere for a few days since I have the time off work, but obviously not across the country to my mom's house. I would structure the travel dates to leave for 10 days and still see his family that's visiting and be back before my birthday. So we'd still have time together while I'm off work and celebrate together. Regardless, to him, if I go, I'm being selfish. But I disagree because it's not about him right now. So should I book a ticket, or am I a jerk who should put my husband higher up on my priority list? Update. With all of your encouragement, I booked my departure flight to go see my mom so that I could lock in a decent price and relieve some anxiety. A few days later, I was able to book my return flight with points that I've been saving for ages, so the cost really hasn't been too bad. I opted to go for 10 days, and sadly, I've been getting the cold shoulder, as expected, since telling my husband, and my mental health is at an all-time low. I reached out to a grievance counselor today to help process the loss of my dad and friend and cope with my mom's upcoming diagnosis. We have a lot to consider in the future, but thank you for helping me have the confidence to do what's right in my heart and spend time with my precious mama for her birthday and first holiday season after losing my dad in September. Money is definitely finite, but you also can't take it with you. Plus, time with my mom is priceless. I don't know why he doesn't get it, and I'm sad for him, to be honest. I just hope he realizes that this coldness will push me away, not make me want to stay here again. I realized that we stayed home last holiday, so I technically missed my dad's last Thanksgiving and Christmas. Can't let that happen this time around. My boyfriend's mother expects me to lie about what ingredients she's putting in a Christmas cookie. Background. My boyfriend, 30 male, has huge sensory issues and refuses to eat any sorts of cheese but mozzarella or Parmesan. He despises fish as well. We've been together for about 9 years now. Will not touch or eat anything that even has these ingredients in them. He has to read the ingredients list. His mother is staying with us for Christmas. His mom told me that this Christmas cookie she's been making for years has ricotta cheese in it. My boyfriend has been unknowingly eating it for years as well. I was astounded because I never knew it either. She's staying with us for the holidays and wants me to take her to go buy this cheese without my boyfriend there so he doesn't know we're buying it. I feel conflicted because he's always said to tell him what's in the food I cook, and I always do. But if I tell him this, she will be extremely upset and they'll fight, and I will be blamed by her. If I don't tell him and he finds out, he will most likely be very upset with me and we will fight. If he doesn't find out, I'll feel extremely guilty and like a liar. It's a lose-lose situation. What should I do? Update. I managed to get out of taking his mom to the store. She went with my boyfriend and told him that the ricotta cheese was for something that she'd be making for his nephews when they come visit and laughed about it. I told her it's wrong to lie about this. She basically ignored me. At least that guilt is off my shoulders. I still haven't gotten the chance to talk to him alone. I will most likely go with the approach one commenter said. Basically, I found out something you love has an ingredient you dislike. Do you want to know about it or forget I said anything? Thank you for all the suggestions. I can't believe how much this blew up. Update 2. I told him the truth this morning and it went fine. I explained both sides and how I was unsure about saying anything because I didn't want to spoil a good memory or cause tension between him and his mom. He told me that he appreciated me telling him and that he would have been very mad and upset if I didn't. He also said he was already suspicious when she bought the cheese in the first place, which I was relieved to hear. I said, please don't tell your mom that I told you. He told me he would catch her in the act. I told him this is also a good opportunity to reflect and think about how cheese he normally hates can be okay as a baking ingredient because it doesn't taste like cheese. He said it was gross. I offered to show him the Reddit post as well, and he said no thank you. He didn't want to think about ricotta cheese anymore because he felt like he was going to throw up. As for checking ingredients, this is his mother. He doesn't feel the need to check ingredients because she's his mother, and he normally feels safe and trusts her cooking. When we go out to eat, a server's confirmation of no cheese or fish is enough for him. When I cook something new, sometimes he'll ask me what's in it or if I offer a list to show him the recipe. I am aware that his behavior is childish, but everyone has their flaws. As I've mentioned already, please stop insulting him and saying these things, saying we shouldn't date anymore, etc. We've had many discussions about his specific food aversions in the past. I've called him out on how silly it is, and we've argued. Been there, done that. I would leave and date an actual adult, but that's just me. Dang, there's a lot of bad takes in this thread. Everybody gets to decide what they put in their bodies, even if you and I think it's stupid and irrational. Unbelievable that this is even controversial. Your boyfriend sounds like a big baby, to be honest. I would help her buy the cheese. Ricotta cheese is more like a cream than a cheese, so it doesn't really count anyways. If his mom has been making these cookies for years and it predates your relationship, stay out of it. Back up your boyfriend. Forget his mother. Why are you dating a guy who would freak out about cookies? This is utterly pathetic. If he's going to have a tantrum over something he's been eating already that does him no harm and is not a moral or religious issue, then he isn't worth dating. Calling him childish over this is an insult to actual kids. Tell him or don't, but if he freaks over it, he needs professional help, frankly. Your boyfriend has issues. My stepdaughter is demanding a trust fund from me. I, 39 female, come from a very wealthy family. I never had to struggle for anything because my mom or dad would always just give it to me. I can say that I grew up spoiled, but I grew out of that phase once I had my twins. Since I was so spoiled and never got in trouble for anything as a teenager, I was always going to parties with my friends, doing things I shouldn't have been doing. Then at 16, I found out I was pregnant, and I gave birth at 17 to my 2 beautiful twins, a girl and a boy. Thankfully, my parents were supportive and helped me through the process. My parents had set up a trust fund for me when I was a kid, and I wasn't able to access it until I was 18. So when I turned 18, I moved out and got a condo. I only used my trust fund whenever it was for my kids, rent, or essentials around the house. I also took some out and put it in an emergency fund. I got a job at my dad's company, so I was able to live comfortable, but not keep up with the lifestyle that I grew up with. When I was 31, I met my now husband and his daughter, who was 4 years younger than my kids. Me and my husband dated for about 4 years, then we got married 2 months before my twins' birthday. On my twins' 18th birthday, my parents gifted them each a trust fund of their own. It summed up to $200,000 each. Now, my twins are both 22 years old, and both are thriving. I like to give myself a pat on the back for how I raised them and not how my parents raised me. Now to the issue at hand of my stepdaughter, who is now 18 years old, and for the past couple of months, she's been saying how she couldn't wait to get her trust fund like my twins, and I didn't know if she would or not because I never knew about the twins. Now when her birthday came around, she did get money, just not the trust fund from my parents. Instead, they gave her a car. But to say she was disappointed is an understatement. She said we didn't love her because she wasn't blood, and that we've always treated her differently because she wasn't my daughter, which wasn't true. I've loved her since the day I met her, and I've always treated her like she was one of mine. She then asked me why didn't I tell her that she wasn't getting a trust fund since that was all that she was talking about, and I told her that I didn't know if she was getting one or not. Then she told me that I should have made one for her myself. I tried to tell her that it wasn't possible, but she didn't want to listen to me and just said that she hated me. So, am I the jerk? Edit. I would just like to add beforehand, my husband has told her multiple times to not be expecting a trust fund because she might not get it. And I also told her that I didn't know if she would get one or not, but she chose to ignore us. Edit 2. So I had a talk with my parents and stepdaughter. I did ask my parents how come they didn't give her a trust fund like my twins. They said that since they don't know stepdaughter that well, that they felt like a trust fund was too personal because they didn't have that grandparent-grandchild relationship, which is understandable. My parents rarely got to see stepdaughter because she just moved in with me and my husband when we got married, and my mom and dad like to travel a lot, so they really only got to see her on holidays and birthdays. That's why they got her a car, because it's not that big of a present, because her last car was wrecked up pretty bad. I also apologized to her for not just telling her that she wasn't getting a trust fund and letting her get her hopes up, but I did explain to her that she shouldn't just expect something just because someone else got it, especially something as personal as a trust fund. She apologized for how she reacted and thanked my parents for the car, but I think she's still disappointed, so I plan to take her out of the country for a birthday trip with my husband and the twins. Also, for anyone wondering, the car she got was a 2023 BMW 5 Series. Not the jerk. Your stepdaughter has been a part of the family for only 4 years. Why would she feel entitled to a trust fund from your parents? How has your husband handled her expectations? That's what I was thinking. If they set up a trust fund for OP when she was a kid, they probably set up a trust for the twins after they were born and had 18 years to contribute and let interest accrue. If anything, maybe let the grandparents know she was talking about it and see if they were going to do the same for stepdaughter. But I'm really not sure how I feel about that. It's the grandparents' money to do with as they please, not the stepmom's. So you married her dad 4 years ago, and somehow she felt that when she turned 18, she'd be entitled to a generous trust fund from your parents? Is that correct? That's kind of crazy to be honest. But what's crazier is that nobody, not you, not your husband, sat her down when she started to bring this up and say that it probably wouldn't happen. Not the jerk. It's a wild expectation for a 17-year-old to have, but one of her parents should have curtailed that expectation before it got out of control. Not the jerk. She got a free car. What's she complaining for? Seriously ungrateful. I would love a new car at this age. With today's economy, she can sell the new car and buy an old car to use and put the rest in an investment or a savings account. Am I the jerk for not changing my tradition for my daughter-in-law and making things uncomfortable? I have a tradition that every June and December, on the first Saturday of the month, I make a traditional dish from my country for my family and friends. Everyone loves it and it's a family recipe. My youngest son has been married to Wendy for 3 years, together one before. I didn't know her that well because they didn't live here. Wendy is a rising chef. In June, Wendy asked if she could help me make the dish and I said yes. It was my biggest regret. She gave advice on all seasoning choices, and even though I said it's a family recipe, she kept giving her opinion. When that date passed, I made it clear that I would not like any more help, first and last time. She took it personally, and our relationship became uncomfortable. Last month, day 16, I received an invitation from my son and Wendy to go to their house because Wendy was going to make this dish. It was the first Sunday in December. To clarify, this dish is not something you can eat 2 days in a row as it's heavy. Some sent me a message asking if mine would still happen. They know it's always the first Saturday and I confirmed. On the 20th, I sent the formal invitation by message. My son called as soon as he received it, asking if it would be on the first Saturday, and I confirmed, and he started saying that people can't eat it 2 days in a row, and if I couldn't leave it for another week, because Wendy wanted to do it to get closer to the family. I said no, as it's my tradition, and despite finding their choice of date unpleasant, I won't stop them, but I will continue with the usual dates. He proceeded to say I'm making things uncomfortable, and a week later it wouldn't bother me, and used the coin her invite was before. I was perplexed and said that everyone knows it's the first Saturday of the month, including them, so it wouldn't change all my plans. Things got uncomfortable, of course, but I kept it because it's something that doesn't just involve me. Friends and family already conformed. So there was a party on Saturday with friends and family. He and Wendy didn't come. And on Sunday, I didn't go because I worked that day. Many didn't come, and those who did, few ate the food because they couldn't eat it twice. During the week, my son sent a message asking if it was worth it to have done that and upset her because it spoiled the moment that she wanted to have with our family. He stressed that I could have been the better person, but I preferred not to be. I don't think this attack is very fair, but I wanted an outside opinion. It was the best date for all of my family and friends in December as they get together before the festivities, for me too. Tradition that has been going on for 10 years. Not the jerk. It sounds like she took it personally when you didn't follow her professional opinion and wanted to upstage you on your own tradition. Not the jerk. This is a family tradition of 10 years. Traditions are important, and attempting to modify or change them is offensive. 2. She's clearly trying to upstage you to prove to the family that she can make this dish better. 3. Her choice of dates was passive-aggressive. 4. Your son is also a jerk for letting this happen. If Wendy clearly wants to get closer to the family, she can easily start her own tradition which doesn't conflict with yours. Not the jerk. Your daughter-in-law seems very pretentious. Instead of trying to be respectful of you and your recipes, she's decided she'd rather upstage you, in her eyes. Your son owes you an apology, and you need to make it clear to him that she is welcome to be a part of the family. She's not welcome to disrespect your family traditions and recipes just because of her profession. Karen is manipulating my fiancé. Now he's dumping me. My fiancé is a single dad to Summer, who's 15. Summer has an autoimmune disease, and her mom isn't in the picture. Her dad spoils are rotten because of this. If dinner's already done, but Summer wants something else, he orders it for her because she gets cravings. She doesn't do any chores around the house, and I'm not allowed to ask her for help with anything. If she's being a brat, he excuses it because her medicines cause mood swings, and she can demand all of his attention whenever she wants it. Summer goes to one of those year-round schools, so instead of a 3-month summer break, they get like a month in the summer and they split the other 2 months up throughout the rest of the year. Because of this, she has a 4-week winter break. Summer was supposed to spend the first week of winter break on vacation with her friend and her mom. It was okay at first. I enjoyed spending time with my fiancé without her interrupting us every 10 minutes, but she still called when she woke up, before she went to bed, and every few hours in between. She constantly complained that she missed him. This was the first time she's been away from him since her mom left. On day 4, we got a call from her friend's mom. Summer wasn't feeling well and wanted to go home. I answered the phone the first time, and I asked the mom if she had a fever. Was she throwing up, or was she actually sick? The mom said no fever or throwing up, but she's just tired and says that she wants to go home. I told her to tell Summer to stick it out and call us if she actually gets sick. Summer decided to call her dad, say she didn't feel good, and that I said she couldn't come home. He didn't even give me a chance to explain myself before kicking me out of the house and starting the 4-hour drive to the friend's cabin. When they got home, he told me he needs to rethink our relationship. I told him Summer is manipulating him now like she always does and listed examples of her using her illness to get what she wants with her dad. He told me not to contact him for the next few weeks while he thinks about if he really wants to marry me and hasn't spoken to me since. Am I the jerk for saying Summer is manipulative? You're the jerk. Summer doesn't need a reason to come home. If she wanted to come home because she wanted to sleep in her own bed, that is valid. Also, autoimmune disease can be debilitating, and there's not enough info here to know if she is actually just being a brat or if you are being a jerk. But based off the rest of your post, I'm going with the latter. It's wild that you feel entitled to gatekeep when someone else's kid is allowed to come back to their home. You're not looking like the step-parent material. I think rethinking this marriage will be in the best interest of everyone involved. Edit, because people make excuses like this woman didn't know what she signed up for. Are y'all on like 90-day finance or something? Cause I'm confused how you could have been together more than 90 days and not realize this was not gonna work out with how much vitriol you have for his daughter. OP is a fairy tale villain type of stepmother. You're the jerk. You're the jerk. Are you modeling your approach to being a stepmother from Disney? You're the jerk. Whether or not she's spoiled, it's not on you to decide if Summer can come home or not. You're not the parent, and you didn't make that decision based on parenting or helping the kid, but just because you didn't want her around. You're dating a man with a kid and not the mother around. You're not always going to be the center of his attention. You need to grow up. You're the jerk, both for calling her manipulative and for telling Summer to stick it out when she's sick. Clearly, you prefer that this kid not be around. I enjoyed spending time with my fiancé without her interrupting us. He's a dad. They're a package deal. You guys are not compatible, and honestly, your actions and attitude are unforgivable. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or not? Please let us know. My husband's work wifey is trying to steal him from me. So I met work wifey last Thursday at the Christmas party. She introduced herself as work wifey and she claimed my husband as work hubby and told that to everyone. When she saw me, she just exclaimed, "Oh, we're like two totally different people. How weird is that?" Not weird at all. We don't know each other. No, I mean like because X and I get along so well. Like we totally get each other and we have a lot in common, like totally. That's why he's my work hubby. I didn't know what a manic pixie dream girl was, but apparently she is one, and apparently it was something to brag about. I just found the whole thing very amusing, but on our way home, it wasn't very amusing anymore. I felt a little bit of ick watching my husband's profile, wondering what was going on in his head. He's told me about his new work colleague that he got along with. He told me that she was great at her job and that she was a gamer like him. I don't even know how to hold the joystick properly. Not even sure if it's called a joystick anymore. Ugh, I sound like a boomer, don't I? I know that they text a lot too, even on weekends. I never thought about that before now. I found myself sit on the toilet seat at 3:30 a.m. scrolling through his phone in total silence not to wake him up. She is very youthful and quirky, her words, not mine. She is very funny too. Again, her words, not mine. She calls him hubs and hubby in every text, and in one text, she warned him that men fell easily for her and that she just wanted to give him the heads up. I guess it's because she's a youthful, quirky, funny, manic, pixie dream girl gamer. Her last text was from the same evening after we left the party. She wrote that she was upset that he didn't say goodbye before leaving and that I was a bit surprising to her because she didn't expect him to have this type. OMG, your wife is boring. I didn't expect that. I felt ashamed when I came to my senses. Cowering over his phone and reading weird, very juvenile messages, instead of being sound asleep beside my husband, that makes me safe in our relationship. But I couldn't help but agree with manic wifey in some parts. Why is he continually engaging with her? He doesn't flirt back, nor does he initiate conversations, but he doesn't really shut her down. My husband can be stupid and not noticing flirting, but I feel that this is just beyond being stupid. Does he enjoy the attention, or worse, does he reciprocate it? I just don't understand what's going on between them. Today I had my usual brunch with my mom, aunt, sister, and sister-in-law. They said that I was the jerk for not nipping it in the bud, and by it, they meant the budding affair. I disagreed and tried to explain that I couldn't be in a relationship where I needed to stand guard to keep away temptations. I want a marriage where he's with me because he wants to be with me, and if he cheats then, he doesn't want to be with me. My mother was the one who got the most upset and called me a moron and a jerk and said that this wasn't the mature thing to do. I need to tell my husband to end his friendship because if I didn't, then I let him cheat. Am I the jerk? I can't believe what life this is that they want me to lead and how it's so normal for my family to think that way. I want a willing husband, not a prisoner. I want someone who wants me 100% or nothing. Not the jerk, but I would be having a conversation with your husband about it and telling him how you feel. Whether he's initiating the conversation or flirting or not doesn't really matter if he's entertaining the conversation regardless. His colleague is bold, that's for sure. I can't believe she had the audacity to introduce herself to you as his work wife and then turn around and talk badly about you to your husband. She's fishing him to see what he thinks about his wife. I understand where you're coming from in regard to your husband, and you holding him accountable to being your partner is not the equivalent of him being a hostage. Personally, I hate the whole work husband and work wife BS. You mentioned your husband being oblivious. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say that's the case. What's wrong with pointing out how inappropriate what she's doing and his enabling behavior is? If he did not realize it, he'll address it, right? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or husband and his work wifey? Please let us know. If Reddit boy tried to pull this crap, he'd need a new head. Found an abandoned car in the woods, and it looked like something bad may have happened. I found an abandoned 99 Honda Civic in the forest. Normally I wouldn't think much of an abandoned car, but this just looked like something might have happened. The trunk was popped and items still inside. These items were a box of diapers, a sunshade for a pram, an infant-sized winter jacket, a plush toy for an infant, and an open envelope with a paycheck from a business in Reno. The envelope has a name, address, and employee ID number on it. There was a baby carrier in the back seat, which luckily only had some trash in it and not a baby. The other things in the car were just some foods, drinks, trash, and a sock. The car had the license plate removed and the lights and radio also removed, as well as the back tires removed. Outside the car was an empty box of diapers, a high heel hanging from a tree with the sole torn up, and the matching across the clearing on the ground, and a mound of fresh dirt between the shoe, tree, and car. I took photos of everything, and I wrote down the VIN and the name and the address on the envelope. I wandered around the surrounding area of the forest a bit more, and I found a pile of clothes strewn about on the ground, maybe 100 feet away from the tree line. I ran the VIN number through an online search, and the number doesn't come back as reported stolen. The other things that unnerved me were that everything was dry and mostly clean compared to the surroundings. We've had constant rainfall, and the ground was muddy, yet the diaper box on the ground was dry. The cardboard didn't seem to have been rained on or anything, or even absorbed much water from the mud. The contents of the trunk were also dry and fairly clean, which seemed wrong given the fresh mud and consistent rain. The exposed metal from where the tires were removed also hadn't rusted yet. The car was also neatly parked in the clearing and not on the road like it had got stuck in the mud or the snow. I called all of this into the police, gave them photos and the GPS location and Forest Service road number, but I've heard nothing back. The county this forest sits in is pretty small, so I don't even know if the police have the resources to even check on the car. I want to get some closure that whoever this belonged to is okay, and this is just a stolen car left in the woods. Does anyone have advice on what I can do to get more information on what happened? I'll admit, this forest has always given me an unnerving vibe, so maybe I'm reading too deep into this, but I do want to make sure that nothing worse happened to whoever owned that car. Update. I have good news. This was luckily the best case scenario, and my update is mundane. With the help of other users with far better detective skills than me, we were able to track down the individual's Facebook page. This has been confirmed to be the individual who owned the car. She's safe and her kid is safe as well. She's active on Facebook, and I contacted her with information on where her car is. She had posted about it being stolen in early September, and no one else had stumbled upon it until I did. Am I the jerk for coming to dinner with my ex and his new girlfriend uninvited? I, 32 female, broke up with my longtime partner, male 33, right before lockdown. We stayed in the same house during lockdown and continued to live together after lockdown was lifted because we generally get along, and we had a kid, a daughter who's 11, to raise together. Over the last 3 years, we've been roommates and co-parents, and that's it. One day, he was supposed to take our daughter to buy new school clothes, and she came back 10 minutes later in tears. She said they were on their way to the store when his new girlfriend called, and he drove her back home and dropped her off so he could go spend time with her. He even asked our daughter to lie to me for him, but she was tired of covering for him, implying that she had been lying for him for a while now. When he got home, we had a massive argument. I didn't care if he dated other girls. I cared that for some reason, he thought he had to sneak around, and it made him act like a jerk to me and our daughter. I told him if he had been a man about this new girl and just introduced me to her, then maybe we could have all been friends. But instead, he had to act like a teenager. It ended with him moving out to live with his parents. A couple of days later, he called and apologized. He said he hoped it wasn't too late for him to do things right, and he hopes we can all be friends. I was hopeful that we could finally co-parent in peace for the sake of our kid. This is where I might be the jerk. I've always been close with my ex's parents, to the point where even after we broke up, I would be invited over regularly for dinner. They said even if I wasn't their son's partner, I'm still their grandchild's mother, and that makes me family. So one day when my daughter texts me while at my ex's parents' house and invites me to dinner because they're having my favorite meal, I don't think twice about coming over, even though my ex and his girlfriend I've never met now live there. I figured everyone had to be okay with it since my daughter was inviting me. I end up having dinner with my ex's parents and daughter, but my ex only comes upstairs to grab 2 plates of food and goes back downstairs. I ask my ex's mom why, and she says his girlfriend doesn't feel well today. Whatever, I think. She's just sick, and I'll meet her another day. I have a perfectly pleasant dinner with my ex-in-laws, help clean up, and make a promise to bring them a coconut cake, ex-father-in-law's favorite, and take my daughter home. Later, my ex blows up my phone with texts and calls, saying it was so weird and rude that I came over for dinner uninvited, that I made his new girlfriend uncomfortable and like she wasn't welcome there, and that I caused trouble in their relationship because she assumes we must still be in love for me to come over and see his parents out of the blue like that, because exes don't do that and it's creepy. I had a talk with my daughter and asked her calmly if she had asked everyone else there if it was okay that I come over before she texted me, and she sheepishly said she didn't know she had to do that since it had never been a problem before. I didn't tell her about her dad's meltdown at me or tell her dad that she's the one who invited me. She's a kid and shouldn't be involved. Instead, I just told him I'm sorry for me dropping by making things awkward, but I thought he wanted us all to be friends from now on, and I figured this was a good place to start being friends. He said there was no way she'd want to be my friend now that I made her feel uncomfortable in her own home. It wasn't my intention to make anyone uncomfortable, but I admit I'd be perturbed if he brought this woman into my home and I had not even been warned first. So, am I the jerk? Update. From now on, X's new girlfriend will be called Kay. The day after the dinner, I bring my father-in-law the coconut cake I promised, but not wanting to stir up trouble, I text that I'm bringing it over instead of dropping by unannounced like I normally would. Father-in-law meets me on the porch instead of inviting me in like he normally would, and I gathered from his distant but polite tone and body language that he was basically shooing me away. I was hurt that a man who had always treated me like a daughter was being cold, but I didn't say anything about it and I left. Over the next couple weeks, my ex-in-laws continued to hold me at arm's length, where once I would consider them not only family, but close friends. I used to take mother-in-law to doctor's appointments and shopping trips, but texts asking her about her next appointment or inviting her to come shopping with me went unanswered. I used to go fishing and go-karting with father-in-law, but these invites also stopped. I had a sneaking suspicion my ex was behind the sudden change in my ex-in-laws, and I also started to notice a change in my daughter. Because my ex and I were never actually married, there was no actual custody agreement between us. She would just text her dad if she wanted him to come pick her up, or text me if she wanted to come home. She's always been a daddy's girl and spent more time with him than she did home with me, and I was fine with that. But after the dinner, she spent a lot more time home with me, and one day she went with her dad only to call me within the hour, crying and asking me to pick her up. On the way home, I gently reminded her that she could talk to me about anything, even if it was hard. That adjusting to her dad having Kay in his life would be a challenge, but if she had any problems, she could tell me, and I'd help her fix them. And she told me what had transpired over my ex and Kay's relationship from her point of view. My ex and Kay had been dating for about 6 months before my daughter told me, and she pretty much knew about it from the beginning. My ex told her she couldn't tell me about it, and she agreed because she didn't want us to fight. My ex also had Kay around my daughter from the beginning, and my daughter was wary of her at first, but started to like her. So the people saying I should meet Kay before she was around my daughter, that ship unfortunately sailed long ago. The day after the dinner, mother-in-law texted my daughter and basically said, "You're not in any trouble, but don't mention your mom around Kay again." My daughter texted back, asking why, and she just said, "It's just easier not to upset her." Kay started doing all the things with my ex-in-laws that I used to do. She took mother-in-law to doctor's appointments. She took mother-in-law shopping. She went fishing with my father-in-law and tried to replicate my coconut cake. My daughter tried talking to her dad and said it felt like Kay was trying to replace me. And my dad just said, "Well, she's just being their daughter-in-law. Your mother isn't their daughter-in-law anymore." Still, my daughter is stubborn and insisted it wasn't fair that her mother was being excluded from the family. Her dad just kept repeating, "She's not family," to which my daughter yelled, "She's my mom. That makes her more family than Kay." At this point, Kay apparently got up and left the room while my ex ran after her. Kay didn't just leave the room though. She took her keys, got in her car, and drove away. My ex drove after her, and mother-in-law and father-in-law started scolding my daughter and saying she needed to apologize to Kay when she got back. That's when my daughter called me in tears and asked me to come pick her up. She's insistent that she doesn't want to go back over there until they all apologize to her, and I don't blame her. I'm honestly at a loss at all this. My ex never had a problem with me being close with his parents, even though we broke up. I was the one who stayed with mother-in-law in the hospital for 4 months after she had a heart attack and subsequent heart surgery in 2021. I was the one who went to doctor's appointments and organized her medication and helped her with physical therapy. I was the one cooking meals every night and bringing them to father-in-law because both he and my ex had been spoiled rotten by mother-in-law and don't even know how to cook for themselves. I was the one cleaning the house for them for over a year when mother-in-law recovered. I did it all because I loved them, not just as family to my kid, but as dear friends. I don't know if this sudden change in behavior is how my ex felt all along or if Kay had something to do with it, though I suspect it's a combination of both. My ex has weaponized incompetence down to an art form, and I suspect now that he has a replacement woman to take care of him and his aging parents, and he no longer wants me to do it. But that's basically all that's happened over the last month. Radio silence for me from people I used to love dearly, and then pushing my daughter away until she ran home in tears. And as sad as I am for me, it breaks my heart for her tenfold. Update. It's only been a couple of days since my daughter called me crying, and she's been distracting herself with school and friends, so I haven't really had time to sit her down and talk about how she's feeling at all. All I've asked her is if she wants me to tell her if her dad tries calling, and she said yes. She wants to know if he tries to call. She's had monthly online therapy sessions since her dad and I first broke up, but the first thing I did in light of this was contact her therapist and schedule her for an emergency in-person session. I've seen several people mentioning contacting a lawyer and getting a custody agreement set up, and I'm a little ashamed to admit it hadn't occurred to me to do that. My ex hates anything to do with court proceedings. It's an almost irrational fear of his. He once had a panic attack over getting a jury duty letter. So part of me thinks he won't take this to court, but the other half of me knows that I don't even know this man anymore, and I'm absolutely not leaving anything to chance. I'll be looking into getting a lawyer as soon as possible and see if we can get some sort of emergency custody order that says she doesn't have to go back there until the matter of split custody is decided. Update. I don't want to go into too many details because the situation doesn't really involve me anymore, just my ex, and he is still my daughter's father, so I'll give the short version. When my ex was contacted by my lawyer, he started blowing up my phone, saying I was trying to take his daughter and all his money away from him, and how could I do this to him because he would never do this to me, etc. I shut that down quick and told him I didn't want a dime from him. I just wanted some assurance that the agreement we already had in place, daughter stays with me but is free to visit him, stays in place. He kept trying to say lawyers were unnecessary because he wasn't going to try to take her. I stuck to my guns and he eventually caved. Meanwhile, I had my own things to sort through, and so did my daughter. It took a while to fully own the fact that I definitely contributed to the pain that she's now feeling. When I broke up with my ex, I comforted her by telling her nothing would change. We were still living together. Then her dad moved out, and still I told her nothing will change. I'll still be active in father-in-law and mother-in-law's lives. I'll still go over there with you all the time. And while that was a nice thought, it didn't really prepare my daughter for the reality that families change all the time, and change doesn't have to be bad or scary. This whole time, she was basing her mental health on the idea that nothing about her family would change. So Kay's introduction slowly started to crumble away that feeling. But change is good, change is normal. I may not like being cut off from my in-laws, but they're not wrong when they say that I'm not family anymore. They're not wrong for trying to be welcoming to the new woman in their son's life. It sucks, but life goes on. Anyway, my daughter has been going over there for a few hours about once or twice a week with lots of caveats that she, her dad, and I all agreed to. She gets to decide when she comes over. Her dad can invite her, but she's allowed to say no and he can't argue. No one will force her to interact with father-in-law, mother-in-law, or Kay if she doesn't want to. No one will take her anywhere if she doesn't want to go. If anyone makes her uncomfortable, she'll leave and walk to Diane's house and call me to come pick her up. Diane is a coworker of mine who lives 3 blocks away and has known my daughter since she was a baby. This arrangement has been working out, and my daughter has said everyone has been extra nice to her, but they haven't actually said sorry for anything they did. She slowly started to seem happier and happier over there, and asked if she could go to father-in-law's birthday party because her aunt and uncle from out of state would be visiting with her cousins, and I said yes. Well, tonight she came home and told me a doozy of a story. The party was great, everyone was having a good time, and my daughter's older cousin was showing her how to play the Nintendo 64. Kay was nowhere to be found. Apparently, she didn't feel good again, and my ex went downstairs to check on her. Suddenly, they heard him screaming, "Where is it? What did you do with it?" Everyone got quiet and looked to the stairs, where my ex stomped up and said everyone had to turn out their pockets because some money was missing from father-in-law and mother-in-law's safe. For some context, the safe is locked under the stairs and needs a key and combination to get into it. It has important documents for the whole family and emergency cash in it. Father-in-law, mother-in-law, my ex, and now Kay are the only ones who know the combination, and the only key is hidden in father-in-law and mother-in-law's room. My ex went downstairs to check on Kay, and she was asleep in bed, but the door to the cupboard under the stairs was open. He got a bad feeling and checked the safe, and about $2,000 was missing. He woke Kay up, and she cried and said she had been asleep the whole time, and someone must have come down and stolen the money while she was asleep. I was pretty gratified to hear that my ex's family are nowhere near as naive as he is, and immediately tore into him for believing that lie. None of them had a key or knew the combination, and all of them had been hanging out in the living room. Kay cleans father-in-law and mother-in-law's room all the time, and she knew where the key was. He told Kay the combination. Kay was downstairs the whole time. Kay is the only person who could have done it. He tried to defend Kay and told everyone to leave her alone, but father-in-law put his foot down and told his son to find the money or he would call the cops to do it. My ex went back downstairs to talk to Kay, and everyone upstairs could hear her crying and calling him names. She went to get in her car, and my ex followed her. And what did he see sitting in her back seat? A bag stuffed to the brim with money. A bag that wasn't there a few hours ago. My ex tried to stop Kay from leaving, but she tore out of the driveway. Father-in-law and mother-in-law are furious and want to press charges, and my ex is begging them not to, saying he can get her to bring it back. I don't know where this is going to go next, but honestly, I'm just kind of glad Kay and my ex didn't take me up on my original offer to be friends, because holy cow. Am I the jerk for freaking out at my husband's thoughtful gift? Yesterday was my birthday. My husband was getting on my case lately about buying too many peppermint mocha lattes from Starbucks. For 2 days before my birthday, he's hyping me up about the gift that he will give me first thing in the morning. So he surprised me with a homemade peppermint mocha latte that he made. The twist is, he made it with essential oils that some random lady at a health food store assured him were okay. I have a panic attack after he tells me he fed me essential oils. I felt enraged and hated when I looked on the essential oil bottle and it clearly states that it's for use in a humidifier. He didn't even read the bottle before deciding to make me this sweet gesture with it. I've never been interested in essential oils, so he has no reason to think I'd want to ingest this. He says he isn't the jerk because how could he know a shopkeeper would lie? Am I the jerk for blowing up and telling him that I'm so disappointed? Update. Poison Control said I'll be fine, and it's probably the panic attack that messed up my stomach. He bought the food-safe peppermint so he can redo the drink safely now. Husband understands I'm not an essential oil gal and won't be giving me any more, ever. Not the jerk. Are you okay? As in, not sick? I can't even process the idea of thinking an essential oil is the way to flavor your coffee. It would have taken him minutes to either find the hard candy cane style stirs for coffee or a candy cane itself slowly dissolved in the coffee, or the syrups used in the coffee shops. I can't compute that being his big surprise idea at all. I expected you to say a fancy coffee maker or something to do your own coffees, not a poisoned drink. I'm sorry it ruined your birthday. I can't imagine the anxiety or disappointment, but I hope you find a way to celebrate for yourself. Maybe an extra trip to the coffee shop is in order. Heck, get a snack while you're there. OP. My stomach hurt really bad the next day, today, but I'm okay. He fed his sister one of these coffees too, 2 days ago, and she's okay. Wait, he did it twice? Oh my, that's worse. I'm glad his sister is okay, but that could have gone so differently. Does he realize how dangerous the situation could have been? I hope he's extremely apologetic at the very least. I also wonder if he really did ask for advice from a store employee, because surely there could have been some serious legal implications for them advising that a product is safe for human consumption when it clearly isn't. I'd be telling your husband you plan to file a complaint ASAP, because even if it's just minor, you had side effects. The next person to be given such advice might not be so lucky. Keep an eye on yourself, and I hope you feel better soon. P.S. I would get checked out ASAP to be safe if I were in your situation. Not the jerk. Dear OP's husband, had you thought for a single second, or Googled, you'd found that you can buy peppermint syrup. Non-food grade essential oils are toxic in large quantities. Get over yourself. Ho ho holy cow. OP, this is the most unattractive part. Why do people think they're too good to Google stuff? Not the jerk. This is definitely divorce worthy. By giving you this coffee that he made, there's no telling what could have happened to you. Do you really think a man who loves you would put you in this kind of a position? You deserve so much better, and I hope you find it. You're the jerk. Welcome to 2023, where a guy makes his wife a special mocha on her birthday, and instead of showing any appreciation, she goes on the internet to complain about how horrible he is, where she receives validation from a bunch of bitter losers. There's nothing wrong with flavoring your drinks with a few drops of essential oils, and the wording on the bottle is just a disclaimer. There are tons of products with the same disclaimer that are meant to be consumed, I guess you've been living under a rock and didn't know this. You're totally overreacting and you sound absolutely insufferable. You know why his sister was fine when she drank it? Because she's a mature adult who doesn't throw a fit when they get all upset over nothing like you did. I feel so bad for your husband, along with most guys these days who are stuck with wives like you. If the wife had made the special drink for her husband and added a few drops of essential oil to it and the husband threw a fit, you would all be calling him a man-child and telling her to never do anything nice for him again. Why are you all so obsessed with turning women against their husbands? Don't get married, guys. It's just not worth it these days. You will not be appreciated or respected, and when you make your wife a special mocha, she will talk smack about you online and everyone will insult you for it. Well, now you know your husband is illiterate. He can't read the "not safe for human consumption" warning clearly written on the bottle. And he's cheap because he thinks you spend too much money at Starbucks. Am I the jerk for rolling my eyes at my boyfriend's proposal because it took 25 years of me begging? Yesterday, after dinner, my boyfriend of 30 years proposed to me. He just walked towards me holding a box and said to open it. It was a ring, and I had pictured this moment a million different times but never thought I'd be so apathetic. My boyfriend then said that he was retired now and wants to kick back and enjoy life with me and would love to do it all with me as his wife. A nice speech and all, but from the 5-year mark of our relationship onwards, I had been making clear my deep desire to get married and was consistently dismissed, given empty promises, gaslit. We've been to therapy during this time, and I was in denial about the fact he was just giving me the false illusion of progress to stall. My boyfriend and I have 4 kids. The oldest 3 are adults, while the youngest is 15. She was not at home when all of this went down. All of our kids went to a private school filled with typical Southern soccer parents. I had to endure PTA moms' jabs about me not sharing a last name with my kids. Preteen years were horrible because the other kids would taunt my kids by saying, "Your dad would rather be a sinner than marry your mom." My boyfriend's mom would tell him marriage would be selfish on my part. It's just a piece of paper. My boyfriend ended up rising in the ranks until he became an executive. I was a stay-at-home mom, so I felt like there was always a power imbalance, exasperated by the fact I could be tossed anytime. I partly did stay because I wanted my kids to have the best life and because I felt lucky and proud to be partnered with such an intelligent, successful man, but also because I loved him. These past few years, my boyfriend's career has taken a downturn. He will never be poor, but the company he was part of took a nosedive during 2020, and he had made enemies out of associates and board members. He decided to step back from his role and take the generous severance agreed upon. Now he's living off his investments and wants to relax. I did not like how his career ended and how he treated people and had been deciding whether I wanted to leave and find somebody else after our youngest turned 18. So the proposal was a shock because I should hope that he noticed I've avoided conversations about the future as of late. He rattles on about downsizing our house so we can travel and also cutting back on other expenses. But we're not married, so it's all his money and house anyway. He did notice my eye roll and was offended. He asked what's wrong, and I said that suddenly now that he's downsizing, I'm good enough to marry. He got mad and said that now that he's downsizing and no longer an executive, I suddenly think our relationship is disrespectful and started implying I was a gold digger. I was so angry I walked out and said I might just go out looking for a respectful relationship because I don't know what respect is anymore. Am I the jerk? Wowza, what did you expect? Like seriously, you wanted a marriage, but you stayed half your life with someone so set on making you the bad guy for wanting that until recently. Why would you stay with someone like that? Why would you reproduce with someone like that several times? It's just disappointing for your kids to suffer that much bullying for this, like all for nothing. I don't know who the jerk is, but unfortunately for him, he kind of missed the chance. And unfortunately for you, you put yourself in a box. If you were begging him to propose, why did you stay for 25 years? Help me understand what sympathy OP wants. This is a bed you made and laid in for 30 years. He showed you early on he didn't want to be your husband, but you stayed. You get a crappy proposal and you want to be upset about it? Not only that, you had 4 kids with this dude. Not the jerk for rolling your eyes. You're the jerk, everyone sucks here, for enabling him to do this for 25 years. Get all of the privileges of being a husband without ever being your husband. You begged someone to marry you, a value that you have. He didn't, and you proceeded to have several kids with him. Like, girl, stand up, please. He wasted your whole life, and now he's playing in your face. You're in your 50s and you have kids with him. You've probably lived together long enough to be common law married. In my opinion, it's a stupid and wasteful ritual that humans use to make their coupling official. Traditions don't really matter. You're the jerk. Go pout and then get over yourself. You're not a princess. Sure, blah blah blah. Here's what I read. Willingly chose to stay with uber-rich executive who made it clear at the time he wasn't into marriage. Executive stops making extra mega money and suddenly it's time to walk. The fact this impressive man has built enough financial stability and freedom to live a modest, comfortable life of 25 to 30 years of retirement and travel isn't enough for you. The fact that he stayed with you all these years and now says, yes, I'm retiring at 50 and I'm still happy and wanting you, isn't enough for you. The fact that this rich 50-year-old didn't dump your ungrateful self and find a willing 25-year-old to rock his world on every continent isn't enough for you. Do him a favor and walk like you want. I'll see you back here in a year or two crying about how it's so hard out there. Women like you are the worst. Yes, you're clearly the jerk. Yes, us young 20-something-year-old women would love to settle down with some crusty 50-plus-year-old man with 4 kids from a previous relationship with a woman he had strung on for 2+ decades. Buzz off. The absolute delusion in men like you. What does she think her prospects are at this point? She's gonna have to get a job like everyone else. But at this point, I think she blew it. I wouldn't marry her if I was that guy. I think you should get married, and when your youngest turns 18, you divorce and get half of his stuff. Just make sure that it's possible. You dedicated your life to raising his kids and taking care of his house so he could rise in his career. You deserve your part in it also, not the jerk. Your mindset is probably the reason he didn't marry her. Not the jerk. No reason to stay. Leave him and have him pay child support. Your kid is old enough to choose who they want to live with. Find someone who will respect you, finally. He proposed because he's scared. He wants to wrap you up because he can't impress another woman now and doesn't want to be alone. Or you can say yes, but you want a prenup to protect your future. Half his investments and money should be a start. Karen divorces me and marries her boss. Huge mistake. I, 47, got divorced from my first wife when I was 29. We had 2 kids and my folks loved them more than anything. My ex-wife wasn't happy with the lifestyle that I could provide. I wasn't making a lot of money, but we weren't in debt or anything. We had good cars and we had just put a down payment on our first home that we could own. Her boss was rich. He was 47 and he could provide luxuries that were out of my reach. She left me for him. I still had to pay child support, but I guess I was lucky that I didn't pay spousal support. I had to work and I couldn't get custody. I got visitation, and my ex made it hard. The kids were young and she manipulated them. If I had planned to take them to a local resort for our summer vacation, she would take them to Disneyland the week before. I would always come up short. Eventually, the kids refused to spend time with me. It went to court, and I basically had to accept that I couldn't force them to see me or my parents. I met my second wife, who's 33, at the dog park when I was 37 and she was 24. She had a son who was about the age my son was the last time my parents got to see him. My parents accepted him right away. He loves them. My wife is like a daughter to them. It is what I always wanted for a life. We have 2 more kids now who are 8 and 5. My stepson is about to graduate next year. So a few years ago, my dad sold his company. He's an engineer and he had some patents that ended up being worth a fair bit of money. He paid off my house. He also made educational funds for my 3 kids. He figured the older ones were done with school and hadn't bothered to visit them in years, so they didn't need anything from him. Turns out that was wrong. My ex-wife married a scam artist. He was rich, but he wasn't rich enough for the lifestyle she wanted, so he stole from his clients, and then he went to jail. My oldest kids are in a lot of debt. My ex is living with her parents. She recently tried to tell me that my parents needed to be fair with all their grandkids. I told her that it was their money to spend on the people they loved and who loved them back. She said that we were punishing her kids for her mistakes. I said that both of our kids were adults and hadn't made any effort to see me or my parents in over a decade. She said I'm being a jerk for not convincing my parents to help her kids. It feels like there's a lot missing from this story. You really make yourself out to be a martyr, OP. But fathers don't just get visitation only for no reason, and kids don't just go no contact for a decade because you couldn't afford Disneyland. You then married someone 13 years younger than yourself, which in this context just feels off. So, I don't know, dude. It sounds like either you and your family need to start treating your kids better, or you've lost them forever. Someone needs to be the adult here, but it seems like none of you are willing. OP. Okay, so I went through the comments and yours stuck out. I'll do my best to be honest here. I was not a perfect father. I don't think that anyone ever has been. I made mistakes, but I did try my absolute best. The best example I can give is that I took all of my time off when the kids weren't in school. I tried to make sure that we had quality time together. I didn't see them much when I was working. Their mom did the heavy lifting when it came to parenting. I gave each of my kids the full amount that I had saved for them for college. Their stepdad bought them each a car. I cannot afford to compete with that. Well, I can now, but I couldn't back then. The money I sent them was enough to cover 1.5 years of in-state tuition. The reason I use Disneyland as an example is because it seemed to me like once she found out my vacation time and plans, she then took the kids for a very expensive vacation to a place I would have had trouble affording. When I took them the following week, they were all vacationed out and just relaxed. I had planned for us to enjoy some time outdoors. I was disappointed, but I let them stay in the hotel and just play video games and read. I guess it was a boring vacation because they told me that they didn't want to go there again. They had enjoyed it there before. My wife was 24 when we met and had a kid. She wasn't a teenager or anything, and we got pregnant because we wanted to. I loved having a child in my life again, and we wanted more kids. My wife was willing to accept the hours that I work, and because I have more experience now and seniority, I make more money than I did during my first marriage. You keep mentioning how much money you make, but I just don't see how that factors into your story in any way. Kids grow up with poor fathers all the time and don't go no contact with them for a decade over it. Having less money than their mother doesn't mean that you only get visitation. I'm sure there were times where you worked to be a good father, but I guarantee you that if we asked your kids, they would be able to shed some light on what really happened in their childhood to have it all end up like this. And my earlier point was that it was your job and will always be your job to maintain contact with your kids, unless they explicitly don't want it, in which case you did something very bad. Even though they're older now, it's still your job to do anything you can to maintain a relationship with them if they want it. Sometimes kids pull back when they feel abandoned to see if that parent will fight for them. Kids need to know that their parents will fight for them. If you didn't fight for them, you just let them go no contact, then their worst fears are realized and you become an absolute deadbeat. In which case, your question should be, I was a deadbeat father to 2 kids I had with my ex, and now my parents won't help financially support them, even though we could, and yet we're supporting the 2 kids I had with my new young wife. Are we the jerks? To be clear, I'm not calling you a jerk, because like I said, we just clearly don't know the whole story. Not the jerk. But I'm always suspicious when a guy says the woman manipulated the kids. Kids don't stop talking to you because you don't buy them stuff and take them to expensive places, especially all the way into their adulthood. It's usually because you were a deadbeat and broke promises and weren't around a lot for them to create a bond. This is rarely the mother's fault, as most will happily want a break for a few days. Think you need to find the real reasons they don't talk to you. Well, what do you think? Are OP and his parents the jerks or not? Please let us know. If I had grandkids that went 10 years without wanting anything to do with me, you can bet your backside I wouldn't be leaving them a darn thing. Karen demands I cover my tattoo. I, 19 female, recently got a tattoo on the back of my upper arm, around 6 centimeters in length. For context, I live with my parents and I go to university full-time. I also work around 25 hours every week. I don't pay rent, but I do use my own money for essentially everything else. To add, this is very normal where I'm from. I know a lot of people on this sub are from states where there's a strong push for being out of the house by the time you're 18, but that's practically unheard of here, unless you have rich parents who can support you to do so. You cannot attend uni, and rent in my city, it's so unaffordable. Basically, I knew my parents didn't like tattoos, but I really wanted one and thought they'd be a little upset but get over it after a few days. My dad did just that, told me he hates it, then moved on straight away. My mom, on the other hand, reacted horribly. She didn't speak to me at all for 2 weeks, like refused to look at me if I tried talking to her. And now it's been about a month. She's speaking, but does not want me to be around anyone she knows without covering my arm. When people come over to the house, I have to cover my arm. When I go out to local shopping centers where I might run into people she knows, at a wedding I'm going to soon, etc. She's saying all this because she's terrified of people gossiping about her. Every time I bring it up, she says things like, "I don't want to hear it from everyone. They're all going to talk about it." This is probably partially true. Definitely not to the extent she thinks it's going to be. Literally, no one cares that much about me. But I do come from a super judgmental family who will definitely think it's stupid and make comments about it to me. My mom, for some reason, thinks she'll be like a bad parent or something. Not sure, but she clearly thinks it's on her for some reason. Now, I'm not totally opposed to covering it up. However, it's the middle of the summer right now, and like 36 Celsius almost every day, so it's super impractical. The biggest thing, though, is more about how terrible it makes me feel. I know it's like irrational or whatever, but having to cover it up makes me feel like I'm this disgusting person who shouldn't be around people, and I hate it. This tattoo is a part of me, and it's crappy that this part of me is so terrible I can't even let people see it. The people she's trying to impress, all of my extended family, are not particularly great people, and I don't respect or care about what they think of me, so I don't care if they talk smack about me. I've always kind of stuck to my guns here, and I told her that I'm not doing that, and she's gotta accept me for it. However, every single conversation we're having now is just a never-ending argument. I don't know, I don't feel like I'm the jerk, but the way that she keeps saying stuff like, "That's the rule when you live with me," although she still would want me to cover it up around her family if I did move out. Any external opinion could help. Everyone sucks here. You're an adult and your mom shouldn't be trying to dictate your choices anymore. But you knew your parents would hate the tattoo and you chose to get it anyway, knowing that you had to live at home for at least a few more years. So you made your choice. The price of peace in your home is wearing sleeve lengths that cover the tattoo. Only you can decide if you want to keep fighting this battle. As someone who lives in a country with a housing crisis, forget this noise. Unfortunately for everyone involved, people can't move out fully and start adulting until they're at least 22 and out of university. Parents who provide housing for their adult kids need to recognize that they are adults now. OP should not have to wait to make basic decisions about herself. These types of living situations work with mutual respect. You're a family unit, but you are also an adult. Her tattoo does not affect her parents in any way, nor is it a sustained lifestyle choice. She's totally not the jerk for getting a tattoo. Her father is reasonable. Her mother is ridiculous for expecting long sleeves in the summer. In general, your living situation doesn't change your choices. It's a tattoo, bro. She could have just waited and kept the peace and enjoyed her rent-free life. The exact same thing can be said about her mom. It's just a tattoo. Not the jerk. Your parents want you to live there. They don't charge you rent to incentivize you to stay. That doesn't give them a say in your choices. To use your funds to try and control another person is a crappy thing to do. Make it clear to your parents that you can move out if they are so uncomfortable. If you want to compromise yourself for money, you can do that too. I personally would not be able to hold any love in my heart for someone who wanted to have me compromise myself for money though. I'd get out. Yep, you're the jerk. You want to live by your own rules? Then go live on your own. By your own admission, you're only able to survive based on living off your parents, but refuse to live by their rules. Higher education is nice, but not mandatory. The arrogance is just uncanny. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her mom? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for refusing to sit at the kids' table at my brother-in-law's wedding? I'm 28, female. My husband, who's 30, and I were invited to my husband's brother's wedding in the new year. For some context, we do not live in the same country as his family. We live in the US and they live in the UK, and we're trying to save for a house, so we really weren't planning on going on a holiday this year. Wedding is in July of 2024. Truth be told, I'm rather excited for this trip. I love his family and the UK, but my husband is stressed as it's going to cost us a lot of money, upwards of $5,000, including flights, hotel at the wedding venue, trains, etc. Also, for some more important backstory info, my husband's family hate each other. I mean, a nasty divorce that led to parents not speaking to each other for years. Most of the siblings, including brother-in-law, sided with the mom in the divorce. However, my husband has made it a point to not choose and is very close to both of his parents still. Both parents have new families with kids. Now, 3 months ago, my husband's mother told us that we would be sitting at the table with all the other siblings. Most siblings are under 15 years old, the youngest is 8. My husband asked if we could potentially sit with his dad's side of the family, or his grandparents, who we are also very close to. However, his mother told him that we are the only neutral family members, so therefore we need to sit with the siblings as this is their first time meeting. The wedding party is worried about potential family drama arising. My husband and I were fine with this as long as we are sitting together. However, a few days ago, my brother-in-law asked my husband to be a groomsman, to which he accepted. I was thrilled for my husband as he isn't super close to his brothers. I asked where I will be sitting now that he would be at the wedding party's table. My husband just shrugged and said they likely won't move tables around that much. I asked the bride, who said I was still set with the siblings. I asked politely if I could be moved to the table with the grandparents. Again, I'm extremely close to them. The bride politely told me that I'm the only neutral party who has met all of the siblings, so I could manage the questions and potential arguments arising. Again, this is the first time that they're all meeting. I told her that I appreciate this is something that worries her, but I'm not spending thousands of dollars to be a babysitter. She said she understood, but the seating is final. We argued a little more, but she ended the argument by saying I should be happy to be sitting with the kids because I work with kids and I should be flattered the family trusts me enough with this responsibility. I began to argue, but the bride snapped that if I couldn't stand kids this much, I shouldn't have become a teacher. Please don't get me wrong. I love his siblings, but they are all at least 15 years younger than I am. I also love kids. I'm a teacher, but I want to relax and have a good time at the wedding. I also forgot to mention there will be cousins and kids from the bride's family at the table as well. I just made up my mind. I will not be sitting at the kids' table. I'm going to wander the reception, drink, and have a good time. I'll be pulling up a chair with the grandparents. I do not think it's a big ask for me to be moved to a table, but maybe I'm wrong. My mom and husband still think I'm overreacting and I should just sit with the kids. But my coworkers and friends think I should not be forced to babysit and or manage potential family fights. So, am I the jerk? To clarify a few things, unfortunately we bought the plane tickets already and they are not refundable, or a refund would have been my first choice. They never formally labeled this table as the kids' table, they refer to it as the siblings' table. My husband has 3 younger full brothers and they are adults. None of them are sitting at the siblings' table. This table is completely made up of half-siblings that are 15 and under. I'm the only one who is calling a spade a spade. I showed my husband this thread, who agreed with all of you that I am being treated unfairly. I do want to add, my husband did tell his brother that if I was sitting at the siblings' table, he could not be a groomsman already. I told him not to worry about this after my argument with the bride. It's clear they want me there regardless, and that's my frustration. My husband and I are having a conversation with them later today. I'll update you. Update. My husband and I Zoomed with the bride and the groom yesterday to address our concerns. For those who told me to just sit at the table because they are likely stressed with the wedding planning, I helped plan my sister's wedding, so I know moving one seat is not a big deal. And I only asked because my husband wasn't sitting with me anymore. The bride just said that she confirmed with the rest of the family that the siblings will all be under my care during the reception. I asked if it would just be my husband's siblings, to which my brother-in-law said, "We don't know yet. There are other family members coming and cousins who might want to sit with their cousins." I would then say, "So this is the kids' table." And my brother-in-law would say, "That's not important." I finally asked, "Are you going to blame me if any family drama comes up?" My brother-in-law just said, "That's why you're there, to prevent family drama." So you were all right about that. And this is where things got interesting. For those who said we were being punished, bingo. The bride adds my mother-in-law into the chat. She tells me to stop being selfish and that if I had a problem with being at the siblings' table, it's clear I have a problem being in the family. She also said if I'm not willing to mediate potential family-related questions and problems that might arise, I clearly do not care about my brother-in-law and his bride, and that I want to create problems on their big day. My husband was shocked and asked what makes her say that. My mother-in-law then says that it's clear I've been manipulating my husband away from her family. She accused me of siding with his father in the divorce, and that ever since my husband met me, we'd been spending more time with his father's side of the family. I want to mention that their divorce happened almost 20 years ago, and we rarely talked to his father. Her only evidence to this accusation was that I'm not willing to openly side with her. I was completely shocked by these accusations. My husband said that these accusations are rude and inappropriate and demanded my mother-in-law apologize or he will be cutting her off like John did. Mother-in-law started crying. The bride chimed in that we never included them in our wedding, we eloped, and that this was my opportunity to prove myself as a dedicated member of the family. Obviously, this blindsided me as I genuinely had no idea they felt this way. I always go above and beyond for Christmas and birthday gifts. When we visit, I ensure that I dote on their kids, and I always take the ladies of the family out for a ladies' brunch. I can understand our wedding situation is upsetting, but if my mother-in-law had voiced this to us 4 years ago, we would have hosted a small ceremony or family celebration. My mother-in-law adds that since I wasn't willing to deal with the family drama at our wedding, I should be willing to deal with it from my brother-in-law. I just sat there, jaw on the floor. My mother-in-law snapped, saying she knew the type of person I was from the second I excluded her from her son's wedding, and I'm a selfish manipulator who wanted to steal her son from her and destroy her family, and that my husband is enabling me by not insisting I put the family's needs before my own enjoyment and babysit the kids during the other son's big day. She was hoping my meltdown would show my son what kind of a person I was. Needless to say, we ended up fighting for a few more minutes before my husband slammed the computer screen down. My husband and I chatted for a moment. He apologized for his family and reassured me he knows none of those things his mother said were true. We turned our phones off and had a date night. John, male 32, my husband's older brother, got in contact with us through Instagram this morning. His wife gave me a call and we talked for hours about what happened. Apparently, the reason they left the family was because my mother-in-law did something similar to John's wife. We'll call her Sandy. Sandy didn't want a big wedding due to drama on her family's side and decided to have a small ceremony with their friends. She invited my mother-in-law, who refused to attend because my father-in-law would be there. Mother-in-law threatened Sandy she would make sure John left her if Sandy didn't exclude John's father from the wedding. Sandy didn't listen and went through with their wedding as planned. Mother-in-law accused Sandy of cheating and baby-trapping John. Sandy was pregnant at the time. My mother-in-law stalked Sandy and took photos of her out with her friends and with her brother, sending them to John as proof of her infidelity. Mother-in-law posted these photos to Facebook, captioning it, "Caught you, cheater." Relatives began harassing both John and Sandy. John and Sandy moved away and blocked everyone and have not been in contact with mother-in-law's side of the family ever since. I don't remember this at all, as I had only been with my husband for a year and he didn't want me involved with his family drama. Obviously, I feel awful that this happened to John and Sandy, but they assured me that they forgive both me and my husband. Long story short, Sandy and John are still in contact with the father, how they found out about our situation. John and my husband had a long phone call this morning to which my husband apologized for enabling his mother. My husband has gone no contact with his mother and brothers for now, and we're going to use our trip to visit my old friends from uni and visit John and Sandy. I'm really excited to meet them. These stories about all of these dramatic, toxic families, they make me so thankful for my family that none of us are like that. Yeah, no wonder so many of these people go no contact with their families. My boyfriend finally bought a gorgeous bouquet of red roses, but it was for another woman. Completely shattered and heartbroken as I'm typing this. Yesterday, I, 28 female, found out in the most cruel way that my longtime boyfriend, 28, of 6 years, has been unfaithful. For the past couple of months, he's been really distant and spending more time than usual at work. I chalked it up to stress since he had started a new job recently. However, I was starting to get suspicious when all of a sudden he started following this gorgeous woman on Instagram who also returned his follow. I curiously asked him who she was, and he replied saying she was just an old school friend, which didn't make a lot of sense since her bio said she was 24 years old, which doesn't place them in the same school year. I just had this nagging feeling that something was off, so I decided to check out her social media. On her Facebook, she had set her status to single and would repost photos of women holding huge red rose bouquets, saying how every girl deserves roses and how much she loves receiving flowers. I had a bad feeling about her and developed an obsession with checking her social media accounts daily. I kept doing that until all of my worst fears were brutally fulfilled yesterday. As I checked her Facebook, I came across what I thought was just another one of her flower posts. That was until I took a closer look at the photo. It was a photo of a man's hand which was holding a bouquet of red roses for her as she caressed the flowers. The man's hand had the exact same Apple Watch that I had bought my boyfriend and that he wears daily, and a mole on the exact place where he has one. I could also tell it was him, as he has naturally hairy hands. The woman's status was also changed from single to in a relationship. Finding out that my boyfriend was not only cheating on me, but also bought a bouquet of flowers for another woman when he never did for me completely shattered me. I haven't confronted him yet, but I've been avoiding him. It's not that hard since he barely pays me any attention these days. I know that there is no coming back from this, and this will be the end of what I thought was a lifetime relationship. I feel a lot of grief and heartbreak, but I also feel a lot of rage. How do I even overcome this? I just can't get his betrayal out of my mind. The best way is to move on. Break up with him however you see fit. Cut ties, block him. Cry, talk to your friends, pick up new hobbies, cry some more. But get him completely out of your life, first and permanently. Would I be the jerk for suing my friend after she wrote a book about me? I, 29 female, have a friend called Maya. Maya and I have been friends for 9 years after meeting in university. Maya went through a lot of mental health issues in her early to mid-20s, which impacted her career prospects. But a couple of years ago, she found an outlet in writing and now writes and publishes her stories online. They're some of the spicy romance variety. I've never read any of them because they're just not my thing, but I know she has a lot of regular readers. Recently, Maya shared that she had been contacted by a small publishing company which publishes ebooks who were interested in publishing one of the stories that she had been sharing online. I was ecstatic for her, as it's a move towards making her writing a profession, which is what she really wants to do. About 3 weeks ago, a mutual friend of ours, Amy, contacted me and asked if I had read any of Maya's current story, as she had looked it up online and she thought it had some eerie similarities to my life. I looked it up and I read a big chunk of it, and it was more than just similarities. It was basically a melodramatic reimagining of my life, specifically about my relationship with my fiance and my complicated relationship with my father. I don't know how relevant this is, but she also altered their characters and certain situations to make the plot pretty toxic. I was devastated and disgusted to say the least. I met up with Maya and asked how she could do this to me. Her explanation was that she was so inspired by my life and the things I had told her that the ideas just came to her. I kept saying they weren't her ideas, they were sensationalized details of my real life. She didn't have a single original thought in the whole story. Maya apologized profusely for hurting me and said that she was embarrassed by how much she had taken from my life, but she really loved writing the book. I told her I wasn't comfortable having my private life aired like that. Maya said nothing in the book was identifiable to me, so it wasn't like she'd done anything illegal. And I said, well, we'll see about that. I've contacted lawyers, and they've said suing her would be largely pointless in terms of stopping the book from being published, but starting legal proceedings might scare a small publishing company enough to drop her as an author. I'm seriously considering doing this. Worst case, I can't do anything to stop the book going ahead, but I've caused her an iota of the stress and hurt she's caused me. Best case, this creepy project never sees the light of day. A couple of my friends are saying I shouldn't sue her, but at the end of the day, this is her work and an opportunity for her to make a career for herself and take care of her kid after all that she's been through. I know this could ruin things for her, and I might be acting out of anger, but I really think it's justified after she betrayed my trust like this. Would I be the jerk to go ahead and sue her? Update. For everyone talking about the Streisand effect, I'm not in the US. Court and legal records here are not something you can Google or access easily. That being said, I realize Maya could publicize a lawsuit herself to get publicity, and that ultimately I'm more concerned about anonymity and it's not worth the risk. I will not be proceeding with the lawsuit. Some people suggested reaching out to the publisher privately, and I'm going to look into that. But either way, I won't drag it out into a court process. You would be the jerk, but not for the reason you think. You seem so revenge-focused that you're not thinking about additional long-term damage that you may recklessly cause to yourself. The lawyers are correct that you don't really have a case, but the threat of legal action could dissuade a small publisher from going forward. This is, however, a double-edged sword, since the author and publisher can use legal action as free publicity. Also, keep in mind that filing a lawsuit is a matter of public record. A lawsuit can forever attach this book to you, since Googling you will probably result in finding out that there's a trashy novel that you say is based on your life story. Am I the jerk for making it very clear to my dad that I'm not asking my mom to spend money on his household? My parents divorced when I, 17 male, was 2. Things are not that friendly between them. I'm not sure of the why, just that they prefer to stay apart, and I've always been okay with that. It's my normal, and I never expected them to act all friendly with each other. My dad is remarried, and he has a big blended family at his house. His wife brought 3 kids into the marriage, Dad brought me. They had 3 more kids together. They took in his wife's 2 nieces as well. I'm not really close to my dad, so I'm not really close to any of his other kids. I only spend one weekend a month with him now, which was my choice and the courts supported when I was 14. One thing that probably doesn't need to be explained in a lot of detail, but I will mention, is they don't really have a lot, my dad's household. Neither he or his wife have great jobs, no child support is paid, and things are always tight there. When I was younger and was there every other week, it was pretty crappy. Everyone is crammed into the 3 bedrooms they have. Meals were always kinda crappy and not exactly filling most of the time. Christmas and birthdays were very modest as well. My mom never remarried and focused on providing for stability. I never went without with her, and she always did her best to provide me with nice things, both things that I needed and stuff I wanted. My quality of life was better with her, and I was happier with her. It helped that my mom showed me that she cared and that I was a priority. I never really felt that way about my dad, but especially when he remarried and his finances took a bigger hit, it always felt like he was bitter and resentful that I was so much better provided for at my mom's. The other kids at Dad's house were aware that I had it much better with my mom. They resented me for it. Some of them hate me and think I should have been forced to not see my mom so we'd all have the same. This year, Dad told me that I should have more of an understanding and compassion for all of my siblings, and I should talk to my mom about helping me pay for gifts for them. He said I might not be able to afford much, but Mom should be making sure the other kids get something nice from me and showing me how to be a good older brother to all of them. He also mentioned household gifts to make life a little easier. He told me to ask. I made it clear to him that I will not be asking my mom to spend money on his household. Dad's response was that I'm totally old enough to put more care into my family and want to see them all have a better Christmas. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. He has no right to ask that of you. No matter your age, you'll always be his kid, not his provider. This is just horrible, and it might be time to put a little more distance between you. You're getting old enough where you can visit for the day with your dad, then head home. The tension is going to get worse with everyone. You don't need that. This is not your fault, not your problem to solve. Your only job is a relationship with your dad until he makes that impossible. Good luck. Am I the jerk for not wanting to support someone else's kid? My ex, 28 female, had a kid before we were together. There was never an issue when we started dating, and when I got serious, she asked to move into my house with her kid, and I was happy about it. Throughout the relationship, I treated the kid as I would my own. I paid for everything: sports club, insurance, tutoring, etc. She receives $389 a month in child support from the father, and he sees the kid maybe once a month. Fast forward 2 years, we have our own kid, and we're one big happy family. We'd been talking about getting married, and when we did, I would adopt her first kid, which the dad was okay with. I proposed to her, and 2 months later saw that she had been cheating on me. I was crushed and asked her to move out of my house. After she moved out, I offered to give her $1,600 a month for my kid, and she also got a part-time job making minimum wage. She says I should give the same amount for the other kid as well because I was going to adopt them when we got married. I said no. She took me to child support, hoping to get more money, but she's only getting $700 now for my kid. I've only been giving her the $700 for the last 3 months. She's spreading rumors about me and trying to ruin my reputation. She also is trying to guilt trip me, saying the kid's life has been turned upside down because of me. Am I the jerk for not wanting to support someone else's kid in this situation? Not the jerk. Had you actually adopted the kid, then legally speaking, yes, you would need to provide child support. As it stands, just because you previously paid for things does not mean that you're legally obligated to pay child support. It sounds like that kid's father is still around, unless he already signed away his parental rights because you were planning to adopt him. Either way though, you have no legal obligation to her first kid as he's not yours. The kid's life has been turned upside down because of her, not you. Not the jerk. I'm sorry for the kid, but none of this is your fault or your obligation. Maybe something nice you could do for your own kid is put the $900 you save each month on child support into a college fund. Obviously, you're not obligated to pay for someone else's kid. However, let me offer another perspective. I'm a stepdad. I separated from my partner for about 6 months a few years ago, and it was really hard on her daughter. We made an agreement that even though I wasn't paying child support or anything, the biological dad paid child support, but was 100% absent, I would still be in her life. She came to stay with me every second weekend, and we would talk on the phone between visits. Also, any big events, birthdays, Christmas, etc., we would rearrange the schedule so I could see more of her. Now, in my case, we managed to patch things up, but even if we hadn't, I wanted to remain part of her life. I had been effectively living as her dad for years at that point and didn't want to just abandon her. Now, you don't have to feel the way that I felt, but don't let the mother get in the way of your relationship with the kid. If you've been their dad for the last 2 years, you're allowed to love them as your own. You're allowed to be a part of their life. They're probably devastated at what happened, and it's not their fault at all. This doesn't mean you have to send money, but you could spend time with them, or have them stay with you, or whatever arrangement you and your ex can come up to. You don't have to do any of that, but you can, and it would definitely help the kids who are probably going through a lot at the moment. Dude, shut up. Karen X turned my house from a 4-bedroom into a 3-bedroom, so I'm suing her. My ex and I divorced about 15 years ago, and we have shared custody of our daughter. In the divorce, she wanted our house, but I fought hard against it because it's been my family home for 3 generations before I inherited it. In the end, we came to a compromise that was signed off by the judge. Basically, she gets to live in the house rent-free until our daughter turns 18. Then I get it back. I had to pay the utilities, maintenance, and property taxes the entire time. In addition, she can't make any modifications or upgrades to the house without my written permission. She's solely responsible for the cost, and the work has to be performed by an insured and legally licensed professional. I've been sending her move-out notices for months in anticipation of my daughter's 18th birthday, and recently that came to pass. The day after, I showed up to the house with a contractor because I wanted some work done before I moved back in. At first, she refused to let me in until I reminded her that I'm the legal owner of the house. According to our divorce agreement signed by the judge, she's no longer allowed to be there, and I'll call the police if she doesn't let me in. She got the point and opened the door. I was surprised nothing was packed, and it didn't seem like she was moving at all. We were arguing as I walked through and inspected my house. She wanted extra time, and I told her to be out by the end of the week or I'll have her stuff thrown out. When I walked into the living room, I was shocked into silence. The living room was expanded by a wall being torn down and having the bedroom that was once there merged into it. She turned my 4-bedroom house into a 3-bedroom one. I know I didn't sign off on this, and from the looks of it, the work was probably done by her boyfriend and not a professional. I yelled at her and told her I'm going to sue her for everything she has, then I left. She went crying to our daughter and my family, and now everyone is telling me to give her another month to find a place and to not sue her. My daughter is firmly on her mother's side and thinks I'm the jerk for kicking her mother out a couple of weeks before Christmas and suing her. This is why I'm here. I think I'm right, and legally I am right, but my daughter's opinion of me matters to me. Am I the jerk? Edit to answer some questions. 1. My daughter is a freshman in college, and I rent her an apartment near campus where she lives by herself. She has a room in my house, and I assume she will have a room wherever her mother lives. 2. My ex fought for the house and had a chance of winning, even though we had shared custody because I make much more than her. I offered her the compromise, and she took it because her attorney told her it was a good deal and there's an equal chance I could win, which would leave her without a house. 3. My relationship with my daughter is good. She didn't tell me about the renovation because early on I told her I don't want to talk or hear anything about her mother unless it's something that's affecting her, my daughter, negatively. My ex was done to me, and I wanted to spend time with my daughter building new memories. Edit to answer more questions. My daughter is a wonderful girl, and I couldn't ask for a better daughter. She has a big heart and cares about her mother. I've made it a point to never talk about her mother since the divorce, so I'm sure she doesn't fully understand our situation. I plan to talk to her. 2. I inherited the house during our marriage, and since we were still in the honeymoon phase, I placed her name on the deed. After that, I remortgaged the house twice, once to get a better rate and once for money we needed. All of this led to my attorney advising that I compromise. He said there's a real risk of losing the house, so I compromised. I don't know where you live and the worth of your house, but where I live, there's a huge price difference between a 3-bedroom house and a 4-bedroom one. Your ex's actions caused you to lose tens, if not $100,000. Not the jerk, and sue her. She's had 15 years to find an alternative accommodation. You even sent her reminders. And she violated the agreement by having unauthorized work done? Yeah, just no. Kick her out. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. Christmas is a day. She intentionally messed up the value of your house without your permission, against the judge's orders. Sue her. Well, what do you think? Should OP sue his ex or not? Please let us know. My mother stole $160,000 from me. I, 24 female, found out earlier this year that I was supposed to receive around $160,000 in inheritance money when my father passed away. I found out by looking into a cabinet in our house. I was compelled to do so because my mother acts rich or poor whenever it suits her, plus other strange behavior. I found a letter that was addressed specifically to me from the life insurance company that had my inheritance. All I needed to do was submit some paperwork and they'd give me a check. I'm not sure how, but my mother somehow submitted documents for me and even cashed the check that was in my name. I'm also not sure why she felt entitled to it when she got $500,000 in inheritance herself. When I confronted her about it, she obviously did not take it well. She was very adamant that it's her money, until I informed her that, after I found the documents, I called the life insurance company and received photocopies of the check, the submitted documents, etc. After I told her that, she tried negotiating with me, saying that she can give me $10,000 to start with and then $2,000 every month. I said no. I said she will guilt me into delaying her payments if we go that route. She tells me she will be homeless if I get all the money at once. I eventually make her show me her bank statements. As far as I know, she has around $330,000. In addition, she's been making six figures with her job for the past 3 years. Homeless? Yeah, right. I told her I need a good amount of money if I want to have any chance of moving out. I wanted to move out with my friend, but my mom took way too long to give me any money. I received $50,000 from her. Like a week or so later, she started asking if she could borrow $20,000 for a month. She said that she needs it in her bank account so that the lender can approve of the condo or house she wants to buy. She asked if I would be okay, and I stupidly told her that I'd be getting grants from school too. She then wanted to borrow $20,000 on top of the grant money by passive-aggressively mentioning it whenever she could. A few weeks later, she forced me to go with her to the bank to withdraw $20,000. This was on October 3rd. On November 23rd, I asked her to give me $2,000. I told her it's been almost 2 months and I want a portion of it back via text. She gives me the silent treatment, in text and in person. The next day, I try calling her. She starts crying hysterically, saying, 1. I knew I shouldn't have trusted you with money. 2. What are you doing? Things you shouldn't be? Are you gambling? Why are you so mean? You ruined my holiday. You've ruined my life. You're abnormal. You're just doing this because you're behind in life and you're desperate. You don't have utilities to pay for. I spent so much money on food the past month. I'm not exaggerating when I say I've never told her to buy me food or make me food, but she always uses it as a form of guilt. A couple of days later, we have a 4-hour argument. During this argument, I was so disgusted with her behavior that I told her I want nothing to do with her. A couple of days after that, to my surprise, she comes into my room and asks me to hug her. She starts crying and says that she just suppresses her thoughts and feelings. She says she'll give me $500 now and then $500 on December 22nd. What? I swallowed my anger for a couple of days, but then I could no longer hold it in. I wasn't giving her the silent treatment, but I wasn't looking at her or initiating any form of talking. She notices this and starts asking what's wrong. She goes, "It's the money, isn't it?" And then repeats the same thing she did last time. "Are you gambling? You have no utilities," etc. And again, she made it very clear that she wants to buy a condo or a house. I just can't remember which. I told her I'm mad at her because you told me you needed $20,000 for a month. It's been over 2 months and now you're still not giving it back, so you lied. After this, she started acting like she was about to cry and then she left the house. She then transferred another $500. I haven't talked to her since. It infuriates me that she thinks she's entitled to this money. Why do you need a house? You're getting old and you're single. Secondly, not only was this money only in your account in the first place because you committed fraud, but now I let you borrow money and you're going to treat me like it's an allowance? It's my money legally. Get over it. You already got $500,000 before you took my money. Since I was 18, I've been working minimum wage jobs. She's made it so clear as day that she thinks her needs are way above mine. I don't have utilities. I don't have a career yet, so I'm less important. Even if that's factually true, I'm your kid, and that money is legally mine. Also, I just want to share this example of her behavior that I just remembered. When I was 19, I was working at a tutoring place in addition to a restaurant while taking 16 units in college with no car. I was leaving the house one day to go get a haircut. My mom then asked me, "Where are you going?" I told her I'm going to go get a haircut. She then says, verbatim, "Really? You're supposed to be using that money to help me." That's how entitled she is. Like, OMG. At this point, she received $660,000, while her kid, who is a full-time student with 2 jobs and no car, is not important enough to use the money they earned from their job to go get a haircut. I'm so mad, and I just have a huge problem with getting this taken care of because I hate making people uncomfortable. This is also why I usually cannot blindside a person by randomly bringing an issue up. I usually have to text them first, but I'm starting to think that that's never a good idea. Ugh. Get an attorney and sue her. She's manipulating you left and right. And she's falsified documents and stole your money. Press charges. Get a lawyer. Mail fraud, insurance fraud, identity theft. Why are you being miserable for her? She's very likely ruining your credit and aspects of your future. You don't owe her anything. You need to stop this before it's too far. Your mother stole $160,000 from you, and you're worried about making her uncomfortable? She obviously wasn't uncomfortable forging your signature to steal the money. She has the money in her account, and you should demand she repay it in full immediately. She's a crappy person for continuing to manipulate you, and so what if she suddenly can't afford something as a direct consequence of her theft? She should be grateful you haven't retained an attorney and come after her or called the police. Am I the jerk for making my ex-wife and her kids live in poverty even though I have money? I, 46 male, recently finalized my divorce with my now ex-wife, Lisa, who's 41 female. We were only married for 3 years, and the cause for divorce was issue with finances. We had separate bank accounts for our own savings and checkings accounts for where our salaries went to. I did create an extra account for her where I would deposit money into it monthly just as fun spending money, as I make significantly more and I wanted her to have less stress with her finances. Even with this setup, she would consistently go over the limit and would even take lots of cash out of my wallet and personal safe without informing me. When we were married, she and her 2 kids, who are 18 and 16, from her previous relationship, moved into my house that I own, and I paid for them to go to a private school. Their dad is in their life, so they never saw me as anything other than the guy who married their mom. But I understand that, because they did meet me much later in their lives and not as kids. Regardless, I tried to keep a good relationship, but neither of them ever wanted that and made me feel like an ATM. I got a really thorough prenup made before we got married, so I basically kept everything I have except for some alimony that I have to pay every month. After the divorce, Lisa and her kids moved out, and I informed her that I have closed the bank account I made for sending her money, and I'm going to stop paying for the kids' private school tuition after this year is over. So that way, at least they finish the year out and have a few months to figure out next plans and transferring. It's been about 3 months since then, and I got a nasty call from her saying she can't afford rent anymore, so her and the kids have to move in with her mother, and basically she went off on me for taking away the credit card attached to my bank account. Apparently, the kids have also had to stop some of their extracurricular sports because she can't pay for the programs. She said I left her in poverty, and she had to apply for government assistance and food stamps. Also, when we were married, I had mentioned potentially paying for her kids' college tuition when the time comes, but it was never a set thing. Apparently, she still thought this offer was on the table and mapped out how her son had just got accepted to his dream school, and the cost of attendance would be $80,000 per year, so she wanted to know how I would be sending the funds for this. I just told her she's crazy if she thinks I'm giving up my hard-earned money for someone else's kids I have no ties to anymore, and that I covered her bills completely for 3 years, so she should have saved her salary then instead of blowing through it on designer items. A lot of her family and friends and her kid's dad are calling me, saying I need to provide for the kids at least because I'm their stepdad, and that's a lifelong commitment. Also, according to them, it's not fair that I'm taking away their opportunities to be at a fancy private school and college, especially when I have the money to pay for all of it and keep up the lifestyle to how it was when they lived with me. So, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. What kind of sane person would expect their ex-husband to pay for her and her kids' lives? Not to mention the fact that these kids aren't even yours. Tell them that their ATM is now closed and wish them the best with their life. Block their numbers and enjoy your money. Let me see if I understand this correctly. Her ex-husband, as in the father of the two kids in question, your former stepkids, called you up and said you needed to pay for his kids to go to college? ETA, you were never really married, were you? Marriage includes sharing, and you weren't really sharing. Separate bank accounts, strong prenup, etc. I'm not surprised you got divorced. Don't get with a woman who has kids if you're going to always see them as someone else's kids. Not the jerk, but I have a big issue with people who choose to get involved with parents and don't commit to the kids long term. It's not your obligation, but being with her for 3 years, married, plus whatever years dating, this is no small amount. It's 100% your money and you don't have to do anything. I just feel bad for the kids. Friend lost out on winning $1,000 lotto ticket because of me. I'm part of a specialized friend group where we all share the same hobby. Not really a hobby, but I don't want to give out personal information. I was really excited to join this group as I've been an avid hobbyist for over 6 years. I got to meet the entire group minus Mike, and we all got along great. It was an easy transition into the group and I was having a lot of fun. Finally, about a month after joining, I met Mike. Mike was okay, pretty tough to get to know, like pulling teeth, but I just kind of ignored it and kept moving on with everyone else. Meanwhile, Mike was really inconsistent with showing up to the twice-a-month group meetings, so I didn't really get to know him. Throughout the years, Mike had an infamous birthday party that he would invite the group to, except for me. The first year I was okay with it because I had just joined and I was about 2 weeks in. Second year, I forgot about it until everyone was talking about it and then asked me why I didn't go. Well, I wasn't invited. Third year, same thing. I wasn't invited. So that one stung a little, but I made it my mission to really try and get to know him a bit more. However, it was never reciprocated and proved to be a difficult task. The problem was, the guy runs hot and cold. He's overly dramatic on some days and quiet as a mouse on other days. One time he'll get mad at you if you hug him, another time he'll be in your face all excited telling you the latest new gadget he got. Then the next time you see him, he's the complete opposite. Super huggy and barely talks. You'll ask him questions about himself and he'll either give you one-word answers or very vague answers. This is not just to me, but to everyone, and you never know which Mike you will get on any given day. I finally asked the group about him and their thoughts, and they all said exactly what I said down to the letter. I followed up with, why is he with this group? Technically, he was with the starting group members and has never left, so everyone just tolerates him. For our meeting just before his birthday, I got him a card, wrote him a nice sentiment, and bought $10 worth of scratchers. I brought it with me and he didn't show up. Came home, told the hubby that I was disappointed and a little mad that once again, he doesn't show, and that holds back the group dynamic for the evening. Also, he wasn't there for the third time in a row, which is a rule break within the group. So out of my frustration, I decided to scratch them off myself. To my surprise, every card was a winner. Technically won $1,012. I was so excited. This is the 4th year, and he celebrated his birthday month in August. Didn't invite me again, but at this point, I'm no longer offended or hurt by it. I don't want to go. It's almost mid-September, and he's endlessly complaining on social media right now on how broke he is from the 2 parties that he threw. Now his car repairs totaling $1,000, and he's basically crying for anyone to donate some money. I keep laughing at his posts because had he shown up to our meeting, he would have had the money to pay for his car repair. Also, no one in the group knew I bought a card and that I had some winning lotto tickets. Additional info. He wrote in our private group chat asking for some financial help. I responded, I'm praying for you right now. Praying hands emoji. Honestly, if he was a nicer person, I would have held on to the card and lotto tickets for him. We have a meeting tonight and he's not going even though someone offered him a ride. He seems like the type that would hold a grudge or go off on me for owing him this money. Again, he's super dramatic and there's no telling on how he would react to the news. Updates. His aunt gave him $1,500 to get his car fixed. He went shopping and bought a dog and a $200 outfit. So he still doesn't have a car, but I belong to his social media and he easily gets around town and out of the city, so he has some type of transformation, but I know it's not his own car that needed repair. Now on to the update of what happened Wednesday. So this past week was our Secret Santa gift exchange. Wouldn't you know it, I got him and he got me. He didn't show up, so now I'm without a gift exchange and I just said in my head, Forget it. I was prepared for this and bought something I liked, which was more lottery tickets. I scratched them off in front of everyone and won $75. Super exciting. Everyone blasted it on social media. He contacted me this morning saying that he couldn't make it last night because his dog was sick and he had my gift ready. He was excited to receive the $75 because he really needed it. I didn't respond. Meanwhile, he posted on his social media that he was out with friends that night, so I guess he forgot that we're connected on social media. Last night, we had a special meeting that was pre-planned for months. We did the Secret Santa exchange earlier in the week because we knew we wouldn't be able to celebrate it last night. He shows up, gives me a big hug, talks in the most friendliest way ever, which he has never done with me before, so it just looks and feels like someone completely sucking up. He eventually asks me directly for the money and doesn't even have the gift he's supposed to give me with an exchange. It's not like he had a backpack or a bag that it was in. Him. Okay, great. So where's the money I was supposed to win from my gift exchange? Me. Oh, don't worry about the gift exchange. I'm fine. And I walked away. That's all I said. It didn't even make complete sense to me when I thought about it later, but it left him dumbfounded. He tried to complain about it to the other group members, but they were just not having it. With no collaboration, they all basically said the same thing. You hardly ever show up, and when you do, you're not 100% in. You rarely talk to OP when she's here, and now you want her to hand over $75 for a gift you weren't even here for? She had nothing to open and was left out. She owes you nothing. I have a feeling that this will not be the last I hear of it, but I will stand my ground. Am I the jerk for taking the family on vacation without my wife and stepdaughter? My stepdaughter is in high school and has a best friend she's known since they were babies. My wife and I have 2 kids together. My stepdaughter's best friend has a birthday in December. We are well aware of her birthday because we attend it every year. This year, my side of the family planned to take a huge overseas Christmas vacation, which required us to ask the friend's mother for the party date. We planned and bought our tickets to leave 2 days after the party so that my stepdaughter wouldn't miss it. Monday, my stepdaughter came home and told us that the party date was moved to accommodate some of her friend's family members who decided last minute to fly in for it. The problem is that the date was moved to one well after our departure date. Here's the problem. First, we're not made of money, so for us to change the flight and hotel for our family would more than double the cost. Second, it will be a 2 weeks overseas trip, so I already had my vacation approved and I can't change it. If we fly out after the party, my vacation will be cut down to only a week. Third, I only get to see some of my siblings only at Christmas, so if I didn't go this year, I won't be able to see them again until next year. Fourth, my entire side of the family planned our vacation around the party date months ago. My original solution was to tell her friend's parents to keep their original date since my family planned around their schedule. My wife immediately shot down that idea. My second solution was for us to leave as planned, but change only my stepdaughter's ticket since she's on break and she's old enough to fly by herself. My wife shot that down too since she's also friends with the other mother and wants to go to the party. My wife's solution is for us to just fly out after the party. I don't like this idea at all because of the added cost and lessening time. Our talk turned into arguments that lasted all week. Last night, my wife put her foot down and said that we're not missing the birthday party, to which I replied that she's not missing the birthday party. I told her I'm flying out with our 2 kids as planned, whether or not she's on the flight. That took our argument to the next level, to the point my stepdaughter called me a jerk, so I tried to ground her, at which point my wife said I couldn't because she was justified. Everything is a mess now. Update. There are 2 common questions I think I should answer. It's a Sweet 16 birthday party. It's going to be huge with over 100 people in attendance and catered food. I've been told almost everyone in their class is attending. The other mother and my wife have been friends since the birth of their daughters. She helped my wife through her divorce, and my stepdaughter stayed with them for days at a time during the worst part of that process. Not the jerk. Did your wife and daughter fail to notice that although your family planned your trip around the dates of her friend's birthday party, her friend's parents couldn't be bothered to keep to their planned date, and they changed the party date for their family's wishes? So in your daughter and wife's eyes, not only does your daughter's friend take priority over your whole family, but your daughter's friend's extended family takes priority over your extended family. One of 2 things happen here in the minds of your daughter's friend's parents. Either they have no respect for you whatsoever and expect you to absorb thousands of dollars in fees to change your flights and expect you to miss half of your family vacation, or they actually don't really care if your daughter goes to this party or not. I think the moral rule that should hold here is that you don't break prior plans because you get a better offer. You made plans with your family for specific dates, times, and places. You and your family all spent a lot of money on this group trip where you could all see each other. You would be letting them down if you only showed up for half of it, and that's in addition to the money it would cost you to change the dates. Info. Your wife sounds like a stay-at-home mom. Does she work? Seems like she's awfully cavalier with the family funds. I can't imagine an average working person thinking this is a good idea. You had it right the first time. Stepdaughter stays behind and flies alone. You're the jerk for marrying a single mom. You and your wants will never be as important as her daughters, no matter how much of a spoiled brat she is. When will people learn to stop making this life-ruining mistake? A lawyer's petty revenge on a sovereign citizen. I run across sovereign citizens now and again, the kind that like to file bogus legal documents filled with Latin phrases and notarized with a red seal to make everything official. These guys think legal terms are like incantations of spells. If you just say the right thing in a document, your legal problem magically disappears. Lawyers and judges hate these guys. They're super annoying. Years ago, I broke one of my rules and took a case for a friend. It was a family estate squabble, and my client's brother owed him money. The sovereign citizen brother got his greedy hands on his father's money outside of the estate process by getting himself made joint with his elderly father on some bank accounts. Pulling that stunt is a no-no in Canada, definitely frowned upon by the courts. But so far, as sovereign citizen man was concerned, it was finders keepers all the way, and his father would be darned. I sent sovereign citizen man a letter demanding that he pay, and he stuck to his playbook. He paid my client with a check. The check was not your normal check drawn on an actual bank account. Instead, it was some weird BS thing that he got off the web. The bank the check was drawn on didn't even exist, and the check had all kinds of strange wording and fine print on the back. The thing about these sovereign citizen guys is that they have no notion of the consequences of the bogus documents and bad advice that they get off the internet. Sovereign citizen made a huge mistake by sending me the bogus check. "Can I cash this?" my client said when he showed him the check. "Go for it, but tell the bank in advance that you know it won't clear so that they won't think you're pulling a scam." So my client cashes the check, and of course it totally bounces. After the check bounced, we sued the brother for the money he stole from the estate. It was a short, simple lawsuit, just a few pages long. We served the brother at the house he owned, free and clear thanks to the money he stole from the estate. The guy had 30 days to defend, and on day 30, I got his defense, filled with the usual sovereign citizen nonsense. The defense also had a huge mistake in it, one of the biggest I've ever seen, and I'd been doing this a long time. Sovereign citizen started harassing me and my staff. He sent emails, letters, he left voicemail messages. He came by the office uninvited, demanding to see me and making threats. He kept it up until the cops said they'd arrest him if he came by again, but by then, it was time for his court date. So I'm in court asking for judgment, and the jerk genius is there, talking his legal babble, saying words he doesn't even understand. The judge shut him down after about 10 seconds and gave my client judgment. Sovereign citizen has a meltdown and is escorted out of the courthouse. Of course, he appeals, but I don't care, because of the mistake the guy had made right out of the gate. His mistake was serious and fatal. I don't know about other countries, but in Canada, if someone gives you a check and it fails to clear, you can sue for that. All you have to do is prove that a check written to you bounced, and that's all you need. The court will give you judgment. So when sovereign citizen man sent my client the bogus check, he handed my client an airtight cause of action and easy win of a lawsuit. And of course, I pounced on it. When sovereign citizen's check bounced, my client sued him for that too, in a separate legal proceeding that we started on the same day as the estate case. The two claims looked almost identical, at least on the front page. My client's name was the same, defendant's name was the same, and court file number was identical, but for the final digit. When we served the sovereign citizen with claim 1, the estate claim, we also sued him on claim 2. I think that he thought the second claim was just a copy of the first, because he only defended the estate action. On the bad check case, he didn't defend, and I had default judgment after 30 days. So a few months later, the jerk wants to negotiate. Even though the estate case is under appeal, an appeal he said he was sure he would win, he was willing to throw his brother a bone. He'd pay, but nowhere near the amount of the judgment. It was then that I let him know that we had sued twice, and that I had a judgment in the second action as well as the first, and that now the man's home was totally tied up with the writs I filed. "You better hope you win that appeal," I said to him, "because you're literally betting your house on it." Sovereign citizen did his usual meltdown thing, But once he was finished with the screaming and the threats, he had a bit of a come-to-Jesus moment. We settled with him, sort of. He paid back all the money he stole from the estate, plus all of my client's legal fees, plus some more, just for being a bit of a jerk and a sovereign citizen to boot. Later that year, he was at my client's house for Christmas dinner. Go figure. Families can be pretty weird. Am I the jerk for telling my stepsister that no one wants her to host Christmas? I, 21 female, live with my mom and stepdad. My stepdad has one daughter, Tia, who's in her 30s. Tia is married and has 9 kids with her husband. They also have over 7 cats. They live in a 4-bedroom house, but as you can imagine, it's pretty cramped. I haven't spent loads of time with Tia as she was already an adult when our parents got married. My mom and the rest of my immediate biological family really dislike Tia and her husband. I visited Tia's home quite a few times over the years, and it's always looked like an absolute mess. The house always stinks of cat pee, and you can't even see the floor where there's just stuff everywhere. The kids themselves always seem pretty taken care of, it's just the actual house. Tia's husband is also always working on do-it-yourself home projects that never get finished, which also just adds to the clutter and crap everywhere. In my family, we normally rotate around who's hosting the Christmas get-together. Tia last hosted it in 2019. It caused an argument between my mom and stepdad behind closed doors because my mom said if Tia hosts again, she's not going. As usual, the house was a mess. Tia's husband served everyone, including all of the kids of the family, seriously undercooked chicken. It was still cold in the middle. My mom pointed this out and they threw it in the trash. Luckily, no one had eaten it. They had no gifts for anyone, not even my stepdad, who spent over $600 on their kids. I know gifts aren't absolutely necessary, but this just felt rude. They then unexpectedly asked everyone to leave after we had been there for 2 hours, as Tia's mom and maternal grandparents were coming over. This year, Tia has volunteered to host again and invited us. My mom does not want to go and said we should just stay home this Christmas. This time, my stepdad actually agreed, so we're going to stay home. My older biological siblings also do not want to visit Tia again for Christmas, and all told her they aren't going and said they have other plans. Tia was pleasant about it over text, but on Facebook she made passive-aggressive posts about how her fake family doesn't want to visit her on Christmas. I may be the jerk because I was growing tired of seeing these posts. I ran into Tia last week at the store and she mentioned it to me, saying that she's hurt by everyone not visiting. I told her very bluntly we aren't visiting her because no one wants her to host. She and her husband happily accepted gifts from everyone but got nothing for anyone, tried to feed us raw chicken, and their house is a mess. Tia and I started arguing, and she said that we should have communicated to her like adults rather than just not visiting her. But I feel like some things are just common sense. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Maybe because she always lives like that, she doesn't notice most of the things people object to. However, serving dangerously undercooked chicken, still cold in the center, is something anybody should have noticed. This is just not safe. The chicken by itself was reason to not risk it again. The other awful things were just trimmings to the central problem. She's right. You are not the jerk for not wanting her to host, but your behavior is kind of immature. Yes, some things are just common sense, but sometimes common doesn't mean universal, and it sounds like no one has said a word for 4 years. Everyone sucks. What are you gonna do about it? Call the cops? I was a senior in high school when all of a sudden I got sick at school and had to be sent home. Because my car was in the shop, Mom had to come get me. It's about 9:30 a.m. when this happened. As we're driving up a very busy street, we see 2 kids who are about 7 to 8, we'll call them Frank and Zelda, trying to cross. Worried, my mom pulls over to see what's going on. The conversation went roughly as follows. Mom, are you guys okay? What are you doing here? Frank, Dr. Idiot said we couldn't come to school early, so he sent us home. Now, my mom was very familiar with Dr. Idiot. He was the principal at the elementary school my younger brother was attending at the time. My brother, Mark, was going through some behavioral issues at the time, and Mom was commonly called to the office, to the point that they were on a first-name basis. Not that he allowed her to use his first name because I have a doctorate in education, so it's Dr. Idiot. So in other words, he was an entitled idiot. There was a gas station 10 feet away, so Mom tells Frank and Zelda to meet us there. We pulled in, got some water for the kids as it was a hot day, and Mom calls Dr. Idiot's cell phone. Again, the conversation went roughly as follows. This is Dr. Idiot. Mom, hi, this is Mark's mom. I have 2 kids here named Frank and Zelda, and they say they were sent home early.
Yes,
Their parents dropped them off at 6 a.m. because they had to work. Something about mandatory overtime. Of course, we're not a daycare, so I told the kids to go home and wait for the bus. Mom, are you kidding me? We're 5 miles away from the school. They walked all this way. It's a wonder that nothing's happened to them. What are you going to do about it? Call the cops? Click. Mom was absolutely floored, but she decided to give Dr. Idiot a nice dose of reality. At the time, we lived in a small town. How small? So small that sometimes the chief of police would have to walk the beat. And that day, he happened to be a block or so away from the gas station. When he got the call, he arrived, got the whole story from not only Frank and Zelda, but from my mom and myself. And being a father of 2 elementary kids himself, he was upset. He looked at Mom and said, "It's time I had some words with Dr. Idiot." The chief of police drove Zelda and Frank to the school in the squad car, which they were super excited about, personally escorted them to their class, and then marched to Dr. Idiot's office and proceeded to tear him a new one, telling Dr. Idiot that he would help if charges were pressed on him. From that day on, Dr. Idiot allowed Frank and Zelda to be at the school early on the days their parents had mandatory overtime. Update. More details from my mom about why Frank and Zelda were just dropped off at school. Their aunt works at the elementary school and had agreed to watch them until school started a couple of hours later. She wasn't on the clock. Frank and Zelda didn't live in a good part of town, and their parents, understandably, didn't feel their kids would be safe if they were alone. If Dr. Idiot had driven them home to wait for the bus, it wouldn't have gotten on the chief of police's nerves. 6 a.m.? They were lucky to have the head teacher there to begin with. It's Frank and Zelda's parents in the wrong here. Told my Karen sister she's not a stay-at-home mom, she's just selfish. I want to make it clear, I'm not insulting being a stay-at-home mom, just my sister's version of it. I know how much hard work it is, and I'm not putting anyone down for it. But my sister really does just sit around doing nothing all day, while somebody else does all the work and then whines about how hard it is being a stay-at-home mom, and I've had enough of it. My sister, 26 female, and I, 24 female, have always been polar opposites, so we do clash on quite a few things, but generally we are close. She has 2 kids, Rose, who's 6, and Ty, who's 7, and I have a son, Oz, who's 2, and they're really close. Sister has always been a stay-at-home mom ever since she left school and never had a job, whereas I've always been career-driven. My job's hours can be long and irregular, but I love it. Though, if ever, say I'm tired or I've had a hard day, sister has to one-up me and say how she's even more tired or has had an even harder day because she's a stay-at-home mom, so works 24/7. The thing is, all the things a stay-at-home mom does, she doesn't do. Both kids are at school, and her husband Dan is the one that gets them ready, helps with homework, cooks all the meals, they have a cleaner, and sister doesn't drive, so my mom picks the kids up from school and looks after them until Dan gets home from work. Most weekends, Dan will bring the kids over to me. I live a 10-minute walk away, so sister can have a break. So I don't have much sympathy for her, but most of the time I just let it go. But last week was half-term. I was able to get most of the week off, but on Friday there was an emergency at work, so I needed to go in immediately. My husband was away, and my nanny and babysitter were busy. So I asked Mom if she could look after Oz, as I had to go into work urgently, but she couldn't, as she was looking after Rose. I asked where sister was, and Mom told me she was at home, but was feeling tired, so needed a rest. I said that she could bring Rose over, but she couldn't, as Rose had friends over for a play date. But I took Oz and rushed over to sister's house to beg Mom to take him. While I'm talking to Mom, sister came out. I explained the situation, but she said that as Rose has friends over, it would be inappropriate for Oz to be there. So I asked why Mom couldn't take Oz back home for a few hours and sister watches her girls. Sister seemed offended by the suggestion that she should look after her own kid herself, and I had about had enough and knew this was just wasting time when I had to get to work, so said, "Well, thanks for nothing," and left and took Oz to work with me. It worked out fine, but I was upset with my sister. So today, I went over to sister's house. I wanted to put the situation behind us and move on, but she brought it up. She said she was waiting for an apology from me. When I laughed, she told me I just don't get how hard it is being a stay-at-home mom. I told her she doesn't even know what a hard job is, and the fact that she calls herself a stay-at-home mom is a joke, and that she's just lazy and selfish. I left, and she told me that I'm not welcome back. Employee screams at a guy who ends up being the company's CEO. This is actually a story from my mom from a couple of years ago. She works for an energy company in the customer service, taking phone calls, answering questions, and sometimes helping fix simple issues. It had started not too long ago, and she was one of the few first employees, so right from the start, she knew pretty much everyone who worked there, including the CEO, who she describes as a very nice, down-to-earth guy who'd always dress pretty casually, so he'd blend in with everyone else pretty easily. After a couple of months, they started hiring more people to work, including this one guy who was apparently very entitled and considered himself better than everyone. Mom and a few others didn't like him because he was apparently arrogant, always tried to correct others only to be wrong himself, kept making the same mistakes, ignored many rules on the floor, and had a huge temper and would scream at anyone who said something he didn't like. The screaming would 99.9% of the time be something along the lines of, "Who the heck do you think you are to insert whatever someone did or said?" Many complained about him, but the manager at the time was too nice or scared or both to actually do something about him. One day, he was apparently playing games on his phone while at the same time talking to a customer and telling him all kinds of random wrong things when the CEO came to check the floor after a meeting. Seeing this guy, he walked up to him and calmly informed him he wasn't allowed to have his phone out while helping a customer, so could he completely focus on said customer for the moment. Cue the guy literally throwing his headset off, jumping to his feet and screaming in his face, "And who do you think you are to tell me how to do my job?" along with stomping his foot at each syllable. The boss stood there for a moment, obviously in shock, and the guy, thinking he had won, smirked all smugly before the boss pulled a, well, boss move. "Well, I just so happen to be the CEO of this company," he screamed back, even copying the foot stomping. The dumb guy lost the smirk and, according to my mom, went from angry bright red to pure white in half a second. The boss then calmly grabbed the headset, which apparently still had the customer, who heard everything, and apologized for what she heard and just asked her what she needed help with, finished in a minute, and before hanging up, once again apologized and told her the other guy was fired so it wouldn't happen again. As soon as he hung up, he told the other guy that he was serious and he'd better gather his stuff. In the end, the annoying employee was gone. The manager got a talk on dealing with bad employees, and someone baked the boss a cake. Grandma complied with Grandpa's request for 50 years, much to his chagrin. Something someone said to me today reminded me of this tale, and I thought some of you would appreciate hearing it. So, this is my grandmother's story. My family has been telling the tale for decades. Grandpa himself told it to his daughter's fiancé as a lesson in not understanding his new bride. Grandma told it slightly differently to my mom when she and my father were engaged. This is somewhere between the two versions. It's a lesson in be careful what you wish for, as you just might get it. Personally, I've always thought that it was hilarious. My grandparents were very old school. Grandpa got a job working for John Deere as a teen and worked his way up the ladder to foreman, then manager. Grandma was a typical housewife in the 1950s and was held to typical housewife standards. She was to cook and clean and be prepared to entertain Grandpa's business associates at a moment's notice. It was her job to make sure the kids were taken care of and never got in her husband's way. She was expected to have dinner on the table at 5:30 sharp when he got home from work. Her house and herself were to be impeccably kept at all times, etc. They were progressive and well off enough that Grandma had her own car. She was expected to use it to run the household errands and take the 4 kids to appointments and such. It was important that her husband not be bothered with such things. The household and family were her responsibility. He had a job. Well, one day, Grandpa arrived home from work, and not only was dinner not on the table, but Grandma wasn't even there. The kids, teens at the time, hadn't been fed. Their homework was still on the kitchen table, there were unwashed dishes in the sink, and a dozen other little chores hadn't been done yet. Most importantly, Grandpa was inconvenienced. He had been home just long enough to let his frustration stew into anger when Grandma's car pulled into the driveway. He began shouting at her before she had even had the chance to set down her purse or take off her jacket. He ranted about all the things she hadn't done because she was out running around when she should have been home, taking care of the house and making dinner. He worked very hard all day to provide for this family, Was it too much to ask for a hot dinner when he got home? She'd had a very good reason for not being home, but he never let her tell it, accepting no excuses. But she was a good wife, so she intended to let him vent for a while. Then she would serve him supper and explain what had gone wrong. Then Grandpa messed up. As sometimes happens when we speak in anger, he began to blame the wrong thing for his irritation. He began to blame the car and her access to it. He said something to the effect of, "You don't have any business out driving around anyway. You should be home. I should never have let you start driving in the first place. You shouldn't be driving." "You don't want me to drive?" Grandma asked calmly, retrieving her keys from her purse. "Fine, then I won't drive ever again." And she set those keys on the counter, put her things away, and served dinner. And bless her heart, Grandma stuck with that declaration no matter how much more difficult it made life. Grandpa had to take afternoons off in the middle of the week when a teacher scheduled a meeting. He didn't get a moment's peace on the weekends between grocery trips and taking the kids to activities or doctor's appointments or for haircuts or clothes. He had to drive Grandma to every Saturday salon appointment. Previously, Grandma had taken herself and the kids to church, letting him sleep. Now he had to wake up early on Sundays and take them all himself. Grandpa was nearly as stubborn as his wife. He held out, expecting her to apologize and ask for her keys back. She never did. Instead, she simply rearranged the household schedule so that he could handle all the driving. Months later, after never getting a single weekend to relax, after having dinner pushed back nearly every day because he had to drive someone someplace, he finally gave in and apologized. He tried to tell her that he was wrong and that she should start driving again. He tried to tell her that he now appreciated all she did to make his life easier. He all but begged her to take those keys. I suspect that Grandma had always disliked driving because she never did take back those keys. Nothing Grandpa said or did could convince her to get back behind the wheel. He had said she had no business driving a car and she was going to hold him to that declaration no matter what. For over 50 years, until the day she passed, Grandma never drove a car again for any reason. Not after the kids graduated and moved out. Not after Grandpa retired. Even after Grandpa passed in the 80s, she still refused because my husband always said that I shouldn't drive. Kids ask for chocolate over ice cream. Mom complies. This happened earlier today at the grocery store. A mom was in line in front of me with her 2 daughters. Neither could have been older than 8. Buying a random assortment of items, including roughly a gallon of Neapolitan ice cream. Suddenly, one of the girls looks over at a display of candy bars and her eyes light up. "Mommy, Mommy, I want a chocolate bar." She points to the display. Mom looks over and shakes her head. "No, honey, we're already getting ice cream and you don't need a chocolate bar." The girl grabs one of the bars. "But I want this so much more than I want ice cream." She waves the bar in front of her mom's face. She, the daughter, also pushes one into her sister's hands to get her on board. With both of her daughters now waving candy bars in front of her, she suddenly gets the look. "So, you want candy bars instead of ice cream, is that it?" The daughters are nodding and emphatically saying, "Yes, yes, we want the candy bars, not the ice cream." So the mom turns to the cashier and says, "Can you please remove the ice cream? They don't want it." Cashier dutifully clears the ice cream from her order and puts the tub next to the register. She tells the mom her total and is handed the money. The mom starts bagging up her groceries while the kids tear open their candy bars and start devouring their treat. Right as the mom finishes putting the bagged groceries in her cart for the trip out to the car, the kids finish their candy bars, look at the empty wrappers, and then at the tub of ice cream sitting next to the register. Realization dawns in their eyes. "Hey Mom, could we still get the ice cream after all?" Mom has a smirk on her face. "You said you didn't want the ice cream. You got the candy bars instead." The daughter, who started the push for candy bars, looks at the small, empty wrapper in her hands and back at the tub of ice cream. "But this is so much smaller than that." Mom looks back at the ice cream tub and says, "Oh my goodness, you're right. Seems like maybe you did yourself out of a lot of ice cream later in exchange for a bit of chocolate now." She sighs. "Isn't that a shame?" Daughter tries to turn on the frown. "But Mom, can't you just go back and buy it? It's right there." She shakes her head. "No, sweetie, I already paid for the groceries. It's the next gentleman's turn." Meaning me. The cashier had already started scanning my groceries. The daughter takes one last look at the ice cream and their empty wrappers before turning and running away. Not too far. I think they just wanted to not see the ice cream anymore. As soon as they were off, I burst out laughing. Now that's a lesson. Way to go, Mom. She smiled back at me. Something tells me it's a lesson they won't soon forget. Because I'm in such a cheerful mood, I say, "You want me to buy the ice cream so they can have it later? It would be no trouble." She smiles wider and shakes her head. Nope, if I let you do that, they wouldn't learn their lesson, now would they? Moral of the story, be careful what you wish for, kids. You just might get it. Karen and her fiance stole my business idea. I, 28 female, find myself in a really tough spot and I need some honest opinions on what I should do. My sister, who's 25, is getting married soon and the entire family is ecstatic, but not me. Her fiance, who's 30, stole a business idea from me a few years back and I'm seriously considering skipping the wedding because of it. Backstory. I'd been working on a unique business concept for a few years and I told my sister about it. I thought we were close. Fast forward a bit, and lo and behold, her fiance launches the same darn business, basically stealing my idea and profiting off of it. This scheme is what is funding most of their wedding, FYI. I confronted them about it, and they played dumb, acting like it was just a coincidence, and they had no idea. I was furious, hurt, and betrayed, but for the sake of the family, I decided not to press the issue any further. Now the wedding is approaching and my parents are pressuring me to attend after I mention to them that I want to skip it. They argue that family comes first and I should set aside my grievances for the sake of my sister's big day. On the other hand, I feel like attending would be a slap in the face, as I feel it would signal that what they did is forgivable and that I'm okay with being walked all over. So, am I the jerk for wanting to skip my sister's wedding over this? Should I put aside my feelings and just be there for her? Or is it fair of me to take a stand against what feels like a major betrayal? I'm torn. Info. A few of you really wanted to know what the business idea was. I can't go into detail as it's pretty niche and it would be easy to look up and find out a bit too much personal info on my brother-in-law. I can tell you though that it was an app idea. It's identical to the idea that I was working on. Also, some people are defending brother-in-law by saying that I wasn't going to go through with it. I had been taking part-time entrepreneurship classes at a local college, and I was teaching myself how to build an app at the time. I told my sister about it and showed her what I was working on. He stole the idea before I had the chance to go through with it and sold it to his buds. Now he co-owns it. I think it's also important to note that I dabble in photography, and from conversations with my parents, it sounds like my sister wants me to be the photographer for her wedding, but I haven't heard anything about her paying me for it. So by not going, not only would I be causing a bit of drama, I'd also be leaving them without a photographer according to my mom. I never even agreed to photograph. This was apparently assumed by my sister. OP, tell your mother that if family comes first, then why did your sister and her fiance steal your business idea? It seems your sister has a unique idea on how to deal with family. Not the jerk. If you're 100% sure that the idea was so unique to you and he definitely stole it from you, not only would I not attend the wedding, I'd completely cut the sister off too for sharing your idea with him. That might be a bit extreme for some people, but I've had a similar thing happen to my girlfriend. My girlfriend says I need to get rid of my late wife's stuff or she's leaving me. I first got married at the age of 18 to my girlfriend I'd known since we were 15. We enjoyed 6 years of marriage together before she passed in an accident, leaving me broken and depressed for years. A bit over 1 year ago, 4 years after my wife's passing, I met my current girlfriend at a work event and we really hit it off. I decided that it was time for me to start looking for a serious partner again and that my wife would have wanted me to be happy. My current girlfriend and I became more serious over time and we moved in together 2 weeks ago. I've talked with her extensively about my deceased wife and the mental health issues that it brought to me, and she's been nothing but supportive and loving. The problems began after we moved in together. I have a small chest that I used to keep under my bed that has a few things that belong to my late wife, along with some photos of the two of us. During the moving process, my girlfriend noticed the chest and asked me about it, so I explained what it was and I showed her the contents. I didn't really expect for it to be a big deal, but since I showed her, things have never been worse between us. She sat me down that night and explained that because I still had the chest and wanted to keep it, it was an indication to her that I hadn't moved on from my deceased wife and that she doesn't think she can continue the relationship unless I get rid of it. I was pretty shocked at this and told her that I needed some time to think about it. Well, it's been 2 weeks now, and I still don't know what to do. My current girlfriend and I have had no major problems up until this point, and she's asking me daily when I plan to get rid of it and says she can't live in the same space as the chest. I really don't want to get rid of it, but I want to continue my relationship with her as well. What can I say to get her to understand? Or am I being crazy by keeping those things for years? Update. Some people were wondering how often I look at the chest and talk about my late wife. I spend prolonged time with the chest and its contents usually twice a year, on our anniversary date and the date of her passing. So I'm not constantly opening it and having it out and around and stuff. I feel as though I find the most comfort just knowing that it's nearby, strangely enough, which is why I wanted to keep it in the house. Most of the conversations about my previous marriage have been prompted by my girlfriend, not me. I can talk about it pretty openly when asked about my late wife, but I seldom bring her up on my own in conversation. She used to be all I ever talked about, and it was annoying and uncomfortable to people in my life. Looking back on a lot of our conversations, my girlfriend would frequently ask questions trying to gauge if I was still mourning or if I was happy again. Now with the chest incident, that makes sense to me that it has been an unvoiced insecurity for a while. At the time, I suppose I just thought she was asking if I was depressed still, but I see now that she was trying to ask if I was over my late wife. When my girlfriend asked me to get rid of the chest, she did in fact mean dispose of it. I didn't go into great detail about the conversation we had when she sat me down, but I proposed keeping it more tucked away, not in our bedroom, or at another person's home, and she continued to say that I was still hanging on and not ready for a relationship in her eyes, and keeping it somewhere else didn't change that. I'm definitely not getting rid of the chest, and by that I mean disposing of it, and it's been locked in my car the past couple of days while I've been dealing with this. I got some really good advice from you guys and tried to have an open, honest conversation with her today, asking her why the chest was so significant as to give me an ultimatum, and why she felt like I had to get rid of it to continue growing our relationship. She said the entire relationship we've had, she's always felt like she had to match up to the standards of my late wife, or be even better so that I would stay with her, and that me still having the chest was the confirmation that she will always be less than. If I got rid of the chest, it would be confirmation that I was ready to give my whole heart to her. This broke my heart, honestly, and I couldn't believe she never told me she was feeling this way and that I didn't see it. It also made me feel confused because I've been trying to show her the best I can that I can give her my heart in other ways. Why do I need to dump these precious memories to do that? I told her that the relationship with my late wife and my relationship with her are entirely independent of one another, and that I was focused on building trust and love with her, not trying to replace my late wife or compare her by any means. I told her that I couldn't dispose of the chest because it meant a lot to me sentimentally, and that I wasn't keeping it to hang on to or cling on to my late wife. I just felt as though it was an important part of my history, and I wanted to honor her memory. Some of the trinkets in the chest were from when we were 16 years old, going to high school dances and learning how to drive together. I couldn't simply trash those. I reassured her that I loved her for exactly who she was, not the position she held in my life or how similar she was to my late wife. I told her that I could see us building a life together and that I was focused on our future, not my past. I told her that there is absolutely no competition and that while I was hurt by the ultimatum, I was ready to move past this and move the chest to storage or somewhere else. It wasn't enough for her. I don't know what else I needed to say or do to communicate my love and dedication, but she was dead set on me getting rid of the chest or her leaving. I told her a final time that there was not an ounce of a chance I was getting rid of it. Radio silence. Then she gets a bag of her stuff, hops in her car, and drives off, ignoring me when I asked what was going on. After calling her multiple times for a few hours, I learned she's staying with a friend, who she called in the car, I guess, so she originally just drove off, not knowing where she was going, and making arrangements to move out next week. I'm still in shock, but I mostly feel confused and hollow. Maybe I truly wasn't ready for a relationship. Maybe she's just crazy. Maybe a bit of both. OP, this person doesn't understand you or your loss. I'm a widow. It's been 9 years now without my beloved. The first 3 to 4 years were horrible. For the last 5 years, I've been living in harmony with my new partner. We're very content and this relationship is strong. I too have a memory box that was created when we began living together. Over the years, I have needed that box less and less because time really does heal. I also have a memory box for my late mother and sister, Those memories are priceless. I still have my sister's little christening gown. As my heart is healed with my partner's support, I've been able to move on, but those priceless boxes will follow me wherever I go. In some ways, I'm the gatekeeper of these precious moments. You are behaving in a perfectly reasonable manner, your partner is not. This past year, I almost forgot my late husband's anniversary of his passing. I always put up a temporary Facebook photo of my late husband. This year, my partner reminded me to this little act of remembrance because of my late husband's family appreciates it so much. I had to smile to myself because this meant I had truly moved on, and it solidifies the fact that my partner always has my back. I hope you find the peace that I have attained and a loving partner that always supports you too. It's not that you haven't moved on, it's that your partner is too insecure to allow you to put your memories in their proper place and wants to eradicate your previous life before her. That's very selfish, and I'm so sorry. I'm amazed, but also kind of scared of my girlfriend. I, 28 male, have been dating Jen, 27 female, for 2 years, and she's amazing. Kind, smart, funny, pretty, everything. She has a really warm and bubbly personality, smiles and laughs a lot. I'd say she has RNF, resting nice face. She's also 5'5" of caged fury. Between her looks and approachable personality, she gets guys who flirt with her a lot. She also gets a lot of women who are jealous of her. I used to get really jealous when guys tried to talk to her, and she would get mad at me for being jealous. Let me be 100% clear. She's not particularly flirty. She doesn't initiate conversations, doesn't lead guys on. She's not looking for male attention. I'm 6'1" and somewhat intimidating build, so my go-to move is standing tall with my arms crossed and staring at the guy, then saying something like, "Is there an issue?" Instead of immediately jumping in when guys start flirting with her and causing an argument with her, I started to pay attention to how she handles unwanted attention. She's like a ninja deflecting creeps and mean girls. She reads the situation and knows when to act nice, when to ignore them, when to be firm, and when to leave. I started to realize I don't need to be jealous and she can take care of herself. I tore up my knee over the summer. She basically moved in to help me during my surgery and rehab. She's been amazing, taking me to things when I couldn't drive, making me food when I couldn't even stand, helping me do my PT. I'm still wearing a knee brace, but I'm getting there. She loves to dance. Although I'm terrible, I love going with her because it makes her happy and she looks incredible when she's dancing. Since my injury, we haven't gone out much and we haven't gone dancing. I'm not able to dance more than a slow dance, so I got her friends to go with us so she has someone to dance with. Pretty sure she likes dancing with her female friends more anyway. It was me, Jen, a couple, and 2 girls. The couple left pretty early. Watching her dance, I had a moment of clarity. All I could think was how lucky I was that I'd be going home with the person I most loved in the world. I realized I wanted to marry her. 3 attractive women dancing are going to draw attention. I'm no hater, but it was funny watching guys try to flirt with them and glad that it wasn't me anymore. This group of guys in particular weren't getting the hint. They surrounded the girls and tried to dance behind them. Jen said something and pushed them aside. The girls came back to where I was sitting and the guys are glaring at us. Club closes and we're walking out towards my car. Turns out the guys weren't ready to let it go. A couple of the guys were insulting us, especially me for being a beta, that I'm not a real man. The irony that these guys think I should have been protecting my girlfriend was totally lost on them. They're getting louder and more aggressive. We try to defuse the situation, but they're not letting up. A fight seemed inevitable. We're a block from the club, so I tell the girls we're going to head back to where the people waiting for Ubers are standing. They block our way, and I'm about ready to get in their faces, hoping I can intimidate my way out while the girls get away. I have one bad leg, and if someone shoves me, I'll probably fall down. Plus, there's only one of me. Jen suddenly releases a stream of insults toward these guys and doesn't let up. I'm not sure she even stopped to take a breath. They were shocked, and so was I, by the genuine rage directed towards them. I've never seen her so angry. They're backing up while she's moving towards them screaming. She's driving them back towards the crowd while also creating a commotion. I told you, she's a ninja. Some club goers start to come over, and it's clear that they aren't on the guy's side. The guys are embarrassed because they're getting upbraided by 120 pounds of white-hot rage. This is the part where I should be embarrassed. My girlfriend, who is 8 inches shorter and 75 pounds lighter, kept me from getting my butt kicked. Honestly though, it was one of the most coolest things I've ever seen. She's a keeper. I better get a ring on this one before she realizes she can do better. Update. I was trying to work up the courage to talk to her about our future and make sure we were on the same page. I know she loves me and wants to be my wife, but she has a lot she wants to achieve, like going to grad school. I would have understood if she wanted to wait to get engaged. It still would have hurt though. She was sitting on the couch reading a book, and I was just looking at her. I was thinking, she's so amazing. Just talk to her. Everything will be fine. She looked at me through her big dumb glasses and smiled. That was the final push I needed. Fortunately, we were both on the same page and ready to take the next step. We just went on a long weekend. We were walking to a little spot with a beautiful view for a picnic, and I pretended to stumble and re-injure my knee. Pretty sure she didn't buy it, but she played along. She loved the ring and of course accepted. I'm amazed by and kind of afraid of my fiance. I think what I did was fine, but you decide. Okay, so this started a major fight between me, 24 male, and my girlfriend who's 24. So my girlfriend and I have lived together for 4 years, been together for 6 years, high school sweethearts. At 20, I was lucky to be making quite a bit of money, and so I bought myself a new Jeep Wrangler as a second car to have fun with. My other car was my birthday present from my parents when I turned 18, a 2017 Subaru. My girlfriend's car was totaled right after we moved in together, and so I let her use whichever of my cars I wasn't using and put her on my insurance. She never ended up buying another car because she can't save money, and she has gotten comfortable in my new fancy cars compared to her '04 Camry. Now we get to the problem. She crashed both of them in a month. My Jeep just needed $4,500 worth of bodywork, but my Subaru was a total loss. She was totally fine, no injuries whatsoever. Both of them were her fault. The Jeep, she pulled out of a parking space too tight and scraped every panel from front to back and destroyed the other car. The Subaru, she was texting and driving and hit a parked car at 25 miles per hour in our neighborhood. Now I get that accidents happen, but she took no responsibility for either accident. The Jeep is somewhat understandable, but to be texting and driving, something she knows I feel very strongly against, and not take responsibility made me upset. So I told her it's fine, but that I would be taking the insurance money for the Subaru and sell my Jeep after it was fixed and buying myself a new car, and that $5,000 of it would go to her to either buy a cheap used car or use as a down payment for something nicer. Wait, you're gonna give her $5,000 after what she did? Why? She said okay, and nothing else really. The next Saturday, when the Jeep was fixed, I did exactly what I said I was going to and bought myself a tricked out Volvo. My girlfriend was working and came home and went ballistic, saying she couldn't believe I didn't get her a car too and wasted it buying such a nice car for myself. I told her with a $5,000 down payment, you can pretty much buy exactly what we had before, maybe a bit newer. But she was mad because she will have monthly payments and won't be able to afford everything for her skincare routine or be able to save to buy Christmas presents. That bit about presents for her family really made me feel like a jerk. I did offer to help with that and explained I just wanted her to have an asset in her name. If we ever broke up, you would need your own car. And that set her off again about if I see my life with her or not. She's staying at her mom's house currently and won't talk to me. Am I the jerk? ETA. Yes, we live in the US, but I'm not originally from the US. I'm a dual citizen. So she wrecked not one, but 2 cars that were not hers and feels zero remorse for it? And she expects you to not only help her get a car, but straight up pay for one so that she can go about spending her money on whatever frivolous materialistic thing she wants? Your offer to give her money for a down payment on a new car is more than what she deserves in this situation. She's an adult who should be capable of doing adult things. Also, her trying to guilt trip you by saying she won't have money for Christmas gifts is a poor excuse for not wanting to pay for something. Not the jerk. The fact that she's 24 and acting like this is truly perplexing. OP. Yeah, never seen this side of her. Also, she's never been this close to her mom her whole life, and personally, I think her mom is influencing her decisions. And technically, it's 9 cars. She wrecked her Camry sliding out on ice at 50 miles per hour and hit 3 parked cars. Then my Jeep, she did significant body damage to it and totaled the older car. Then the Subaru she totaled, hitting a parked car texting and driving, and the car she hit struck the car in front, but most likely not a total loss. She totally shouldn't have a license. Update. Well, it's been almost 2 months since I posted, and also 2 months since we broke up. I appreciate everyone who didn't just call me an enabler. So she was the one to break up with me. Her reasoning for wanting to break up is that she no longer saw me as a romantic partner, but rather as a boss, landlord, and a parent. It definitely hurt since I still loved her even through all of this. She moved out the last of her things from my storage on Saturday and brought her new boyfriend with her. Not to be judgmental, but he looks homeless, so that was kind of funny. I did end up giving her the $5,000 I promised her, and well, no other way to say it, that was probably a mistake. Instead of buying a car, it looks like she bought her mom and her a trip to Mexico. She posted it on her Instagram, and I know she didn't have that kind of money, and her mom most certainly didn't pay for it. I honestly don't know if she has a car or if she's still driving her new boyfriend's car, her mom's, or decided to just use transit and Uber. As for me, I still love my little Volvo. My best friend going back to middle school ended up moving into my condo now that it's just me, and I got a really lucrative new contract at work. Haven't bothered looking for anything romantically since the breakup, and have been working on myself and trying to identify what qualities I really want in my future partner. So yeah, sorry to everyone who was hoping for some bigger drama. I'm gonna call you an enabler again because you stupidly gave her $5,000. Hope you grow from this experience, but please know that that was really stupid. OP, honoring my word is important to me, maybe to a fault, but you know what? I'll take that over being thought of as a liar or a flake. Cut it out. It makes no sense to give her the $5,000 after she totaled one car and caused $4,500 worth of damage to your Jeep. OP, yeah, I would not let her back in my life. I realize now that it was a one-sided relationship. For trips, Christmas, her birthday and such, I constantly had to one-up last year or she would be upset. I'm learning a lot from my therapist about self-worth. All in all, I'm glad I kept my word and gave her the money. I'm trying to wrap my head around giving someone $5,000 when that person is at fault for wrecking not one, but 2 cars. I'd be demanding money from them for that, not giving them money after the situation they caused. What on earth? Am I the jerk for telling my husband he'll always be second? My younger brother, who's 22, developed a neurological disorder in his teens. When he was old enough, he became my responsibility. He seems just like everyone else, but he needs supervision, and it would be very difficult for him to live alone. My husband knew this when we started dating. I've told him a billion times my brother will always be my priority. He understood. My husband and brother's relationship has been decent. My brother doesn't care for him much, and my husband treated him kindly. Like I said, he was quite understanding. Things started to change a couple of months ago. He's not mean, but he's become distant. I asked him if everything was all right, and he asked me if my brother would ever move out. I told him the truth, most likely no. Of course we don't know what the future may hold, but my brother still needs me at this moment in time. My husband didn't push it. The other day, my husband came home with one of his coworkers. I was given no warning. I tried calling my brother so he wouldn't be overwhelmed when he came home from his job, but his phone was dead. So when he did come home, he was extremely overwhelmed and I had to take him on a walk. My husband called me several times while we were out on the walk, but I didn't answer. Honestly, I was a little annoyed, but mostly I was busy with my brother. We went home eventually and his coworkers had left, thankfully. I was just going to let it go, but my husband yelled at me for embarrassing him in front of his coworkers. I asked him what he meant by that, and he explained that I had a bad attitude with everyone and was very inhospitable. He said I didn't act like his wife, and one of his coworkers made fun of my husband for marrying me. By this, he meant cook for and entertain them. Keep in mind, had he given me a warning, I would have done so with no complaints. But was I supposed to read his mind? I told him to snap out of it, and he should know better. My husband rolled his eyes and told me that I only have my brother in my head and that he's just a second thought. He then called my brother a name that he shouldn't have. This made me extremely angry, so I told him there's no use in getting mad at me. He married me knowing that he'll always be second. He called me insufferable before leaving. Now he's with his mom, and she yelled at me for coddling my brother and neglecting my husband. I'm curious and you let off steam. Am I the jerk? Edit. Just in case anyone gets the wrong idea, my husband isn't involved in my brother's care, like at all, not even financially. I wouldn't put that burden on him. He did go to a few therapy sessions just to understand my brother's disability, but that's it. Not the jerk, and maybe also no jerks here. Your husband is a jerk for snapping, yes, but my guess is just after all this time, I guess you're not married since yesterday, it's starting to grind on him, and this is to a point where he can't keep it in check anymore. So it comes out in a bad way. This is human and it can happen. I think you have to think this over. What will happen if you have kids? When you're 82 and have your own set of health issues, will you be able to take care of your brother then? Will you not go on vacations, not have kids, or have them raised by someone else? Not have a dog or a cat or a garden? Not have a career or hobbies because you have to take care of your brother? Will you divorce and stay single forever if necessary? Your husband might be thinking more and more about both your future and becoming frustrated. I think that parents with disabled kids should not push the responsibility to their siblings, but prepare for a good solution after their passing. They apparently did not do that, and my guess is that this impedes your marriage going somewhere. Your being full-time caretaker of your brother can lead to you not having a life, but also being the caretaker for him until the day that you pass, with every other responsibility or wish coming second. So when things have calmed down a bit, maybe look into assistance for your brother. Part-time, a good facility, whatever, there's options. You don't need to go from, I'm 100% his caretaker, to, I don't care for him anymore. You're the jerk. You did what you thought was best for your brother, and you were rude to your husband and his guests in the process. Your husband apparently settled for second seat in your world, but he quite reasonably thought you'd find that you had some courtesy and respect, and maybe even love in your heart for him. His mistake. Not to worry, however. If you keep up the good work, you'll have no husband to worry about. My boyfriend takes advantage of being a golden retriever, and I'm fed up with him. I, 28 female, have been with my boyfriend for 6 years. We've been living together for the past 2. He's a giant, dorky, handsome gamer with a naive, childlike heart. Recently, he went on a work trip with a new colleague, who's 29 female, and came back on cloud 9. Shortly after, I noticed he was hiding his phone. I asked if he noticed he was doing so, and he said, "Oh no." A few days later, I explicitly asked if he was texting his colleague. He said, "Yes, and I lied before when you asked because I didn't want you to get the wrong idea." We had been going through some other relationship issues related to his avoidant attachment, so I believed him, but asked if he could slow down building this new relationship as we worked to fix ours. He agreed. He's a golden retriever. He just wanted everyone to be happy. 2 days later, I felt what can only be explained as women's intuition. I asked to see his phone, which I've never done before. Sure enough, hundreds of photos were shared with the colleague over the last few weeks, and messages shared with her while I was left on read. I asked to see Instagram, and he added and DM'd her, mere hours after I asked him to slow things down. I thought the messages were flirtatious, talking about showers, how it's dangerous to go against HR and add her on Instagram. But he assured me that he was not capable of that. Again, he's just a cuddly dog. A week later, he told me that he told his colleague that I was uncomfortable with their relationship. I wish he hadn't aired our problems out to her or blamed me. Then he asked me if he could start texting her out of work hours again. He feels bad that he made things awkward. All throughout this, he still neglected our underlying relationship problems and instead prioritized her and her needs. When I called him out, it's my fault for assuming such a lovable guy could be capable of such calculated betrayal. He's close friends with 2 of his exes, so I don't have a problem with him having female friends, but this is different. Am I overreacting or just stupid? It sounds like he loves the feeling of having a new person to text, DM, and share with. He loves to share with people and get the validation from them that he's a great guy to be around. So either you have to accept that his new thing is going to take priority, or don't, and find someone who will be more into you as their one-to-one thing than this guy. You can only change yourself, and you know what he's like, so the choice is yours. The 2 exes as fake friends would have been the end for me, much less the emotional and possible physical cheating happening with the coworker. He's right that he is a dog. I once dated a man like this. He painted Dungeons & Dragons figurines, and I naively thought nerds won't cheat. He had a woman living with him the entire 2 months he chased me. Even after I called him out on his BS, he still periodically texted me or messaged me until I blocked him everywhere. Funny as heck, cause this guy thought he looked like Chris Pratt. More like Crisp Rat. My 18-year-old daughter refuses to get a job because she's a single mom. I have two daughters, April, who's 18, and Jade, who's 15. I'm a single mom. April and Jade's dad and I got divorced around 13 years ago as he was having an affair. He's never been in the picture for either of our girls after that. When April was 16, she unexpectedly got pregnant. I took her to counseling to help her organize her thoughts and figure out what she wanted to do, and April decided she wanted to keep the baby. The pregnancy and birth went smoothly, and I now have a grandson, Ollie, who's 2. The father is involved, but he and April are no longer together. Ollie stays with his dad every weekend, and the dad's parents give April money to go towards Ollie's expenses. Earlier this year, April graduated high school. She's been taking care of Ollie during the week, but other than that, she hasn't been up to much. She keeps saying that she'll start looking for a job, but she hasn't even started writing her resume. Besides taking care of Ollie, she just sits at home watching TV. On multiple occasions, April has tried to leave Ollie with Jade so that she can go out partying, which has led to huge arguments. Last week, I talked to April, and I told her that she needs to get a job or go to our local community college, and that I'll foot the bill for any childcare she needs for it to happen. I told her she needs to get a job or go to college in order to stay here. April got upset and said that she doesn't want a job or to go to college. She said she just wants to be a mom. She told me it can wait until Ollie starts school. I told her no, and that she needs to start something so that she can support herself and be an independent adult. April said I'm being unreasonable and that these things can wait until Ollie is in school full-time. She said that I'm asking her to damage him and that he needs his mom. It's not that I don't want April and Ollie here. I love them both. I just think I'd be setting a bad precedent by allowing April to continue to stay with me with no job and no education in the making. You're the jerk. That's basically teen mom territory. You should be supporting her. That's an extremely hard situation to be in. If you're capable of supporting her, you should. As a toddler mom myself with no job or schooling, objectively, you're the jerk. I would hate to be told I either had to sacrifice my time with my still developing kid in the most crucial years of their life or move out. But I also have tried to look for jobs, and my mom told me to stop before I got pregnant. She has never pushed me to do anything like that. She's encouraged it, but never with ultimatums. Yes, you're the jerk 1,000,000,000%. Parents are meant to 1. Set the example for their kids, 2. Be there for their kids. She's barely a legal adult. Her brain won't fully develop until she's about 25, and you're telling her she needs to be a single mom with a job, or go to college, or she gets the boot? She needs community and support. She's become a teenage parent during the middle of a lockdown. She doesn't need your lack of parenting making her life worse. An entire you're the jerk and forget you for that. That's straight up abandonment. You're the jerk. You sound exactly like my mom, the woman who got my kid taken away. My mom hounded me every day about getting a job because she forgot how stressful it is being a young mom for the first time. Every time I tried to do something as simple as play a video game while my son was in his crib, my mom would flip out. She threw a fit every time I wanted to go out with friends or, God forbid, go on a date. My psychotic mother's treatment of me led to me majorly resenting my kid to the point where I would leave for days on end and just block her number. She decided that instead of showing me support and being a loving grandmother, reporting me would be a better option. The state decided I was unfit to be a parent. Gee, you think? I was 19. Maybe my mom could have been an actual, grandma? I feel so sorry for your daughter, and I hope she goes no contact with you, since you're nothing but an unsupportive jerk. Reddit, the internet's official worst place to seek parenting advice. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or their daughter? Please let us know. Please never seek parenting advice from Reddit. I can't think of any worse place. Am I the jerk for letting my sister's kids live with me? I, female 50s, have a sister who's in her 40s who sees herself as a my family lives in a camper van Instagram influencer. In 2020, she, her husband, and their 4 kids moved into a camper. They homeschool the kids, travel all over the US, etc. They come to visit for holidays, but we don't see them besides that. My husband and I are the opposite. We have 4 kids and live in a big, beautiful house in Colorado. So the issue. My sister and her family came over for Thanksgiving and spent the night. My sister's oldest, 13-year-old twins, a boy and a girl, slept in my daughter's and son's rooms. In the morning, my niece and my sister got into a big argument with my niece being incredibly angry at her mother for making her live in a camper when she could have so much more space, not have to share so much with her brothers, they all sleep in the same area, and be able to have more clothes, friends, and extracurricular activities. I asked what was going on, and according to my sister, this has been an argument for a while. Money is not an issue. They had a huge house before and sold it for a massive amount of money. My sister has a trust fund and a job. She just likes living in a camper. After a brief conversation with my husband and my kids, we offered, in private to my sister, to take my eldest niece in. We have extra guest rooms and could make one a bedroom for her. There are great schools in our area. We'd pay for everything for her, etc. She instantly said no, that she knew what was best for her daughter. She would miss her siblings. We didn't mention it again. Well, my youngest, she's 13, told my cousin about the offer. She was very happy, but angry that her mother hadn't brought it up to her. She told my sister that if she made her come live in the camper again, she'd never do anything her mother wanted because it was unfair that her mother wasn't letting her have a true childhood. While I don't condone tantrums like that, I understand where she was coming from and helped convince my sister. When her twin brother found out, he wanted to stay too. My sister asked him what she was supposed to do without them. How was she going to care for the younger siblings without them? Talking about missing out on family trips, etc. But nephew didn't change his mind. We agreed to a trial period, 3 weeks, which ended 3 days ago. My sister came back, fully expecting her kids to want to come back with her, but they flat out refused to even go in the camper. My sister is very angry. She said that I was supposed to make them want to live with her and that I'm a horrible sister for treating her like this. She said I should kick them out, and I said no. She said that I'm a massive jerk and told her kids to not expect her to come back for them when they get tired of maximalism. Now her kids are sad, but they still don't want to leave, and I'm worried I've ruined my relationship with my sister. Am I the jerk? Edit. I've been told that the technical name of the vehicle I'm referencing is a motorhome. It's one of those large, house on wheels things. I thought that they were called campers since that's what my sister always calls it. Edit 2. Someone in the comments mentioned I should add this here. We have temporary guardianship signed by my sister. Her husband came over after they left and we filled out the power of attorney forms, got the things we need to put them in school, etc., and he took them back and had her sign them, so we should be all clear. My brother is an attorney and he helped us with the forms as well. I can see why your sister may not like it, but I don't think the camper van life is suited to all. The idea of it would be horrifying to me, both as an adult and a teenager. And I suspect a lot of 13-year-olds would want to have friends and hobbies that aren't just online. You brought up the idea in private, which was a good way to approach it. It's a shame your daughter wasn't able to keep it private, but truthfully, I think she did the correct thing. Your sister asked them what she was supposed to do without them? This sounds like parentification, which is not a good thing for the twins. They should be living the life of teenagers, only helping to look after younger siblings if they're paid babysitters, and only for a few hours a week, if they want extra money. You're not the jerk. I thought that after the first paragraph, and the rest just confirmed it for me. Not the jerk. Your sister sounds selfish and like a lunatic. She wants to live this way, but her kids don't. They need a stable home, friends, family, and education. Living like nomads is not something most kids can do. End of the day, you are helping your niece and nephew out. You're not beholden to your sister or supposed to do anything but help the kids. Yeah, you strained your relationship with her, but that relationship is not worth the health of these kids. Karen demands I leave the library because I'm homeless and I look like Santa. So I am homeless, but no, I don't drink, and no, I'm not on anything. I'm trying to get a job, but finding employment when homeless is not an easy task. Every few days, I take a trip to the library to charge my phone and batteries so I can keep my phone on and working. I typically spend 3 to 4 hours in a quiet corner of the library glued to the power outlet charging. Today, I had a cute, then frustrating interaction between a kid and their parent. I walked through the sliding doors of the library and I wandered around looking for an open chair near an outlet to sit and charge. I heard this little voice shout out in excitement and glee, "Santa!" and pitter-patters of little boots running over to me. Now, I get it, I really do. A big bearded man dressed in red with big black bags and an oversized backpack strapped over his shoulder. Any kid would easily mistake me for the big jolly man. The kid stopped dead in front of me. She was clenching her fist tight, trembling in excitement. She couldn't have been more than 4 years old. She looked up at me, her eyes opened wide, and uttered the word, "Hi, Santa." That made me smile, and I laughed. Her mother came running over, scooped her kid up, and said sorry to me, walked away, and told her kid that's not Santa. The entire interaction put a smile on my face, but here's where it went downhill. I found an open seat and plugged in to charge and do my thing. The kid and her parent were on the other side of the library, but the kid was still brimming with excitement. I could see her head poke out of the bookshelf, staring at me every so often. That went on for about half an hour. Until, I guess, the mother couldn't handle it anymore, and she came over to talk to me. She asked me to leave and find a different spot because I'm distracting her daughter. I said, "Hey, I'm sorry, but this is the only open space with an outlet. I need to charge my stuff." She very sarcastically said, "Oh, why's that?" I replied, "Because I don't have one. I'm homeless." I thought that was the end of it because her face went red and she walked away. But no, she came back. She went up to the front desk to ask if there are any outlets outside and if it's okay for me to go use them instead. Seriously, she said that the library is okay with me using outlets outside to charge so I can go out there. I asked her, "So you don't want me in the library, a public institution, to charge? You would rather me sit outside in the cold just because your kid thinks I'm Santa? Really? That's it?" I looked up at her and said, "Well, ho ho ho, Merry Christmas to you. I'm going to stay right here until my batteries are charged." The lady went to the front desk and I listened in because I figured that I was in trouble and getting kicked out. She asked them to tell me to leave. They said they can't unless I'm intentionally making a disturbance, being violent or threatening. I've been here before. I keep to myself and I don't bother anyone. So yeah, I was there for 4 hours. I didn't move or get kicked out. My things are charged and good for the next few days. Honestly, not the worst interaction I've ever experienced, but at least she was somewhat polite. Edit. I don't think she was being malicious at all. I think in her mind, she was doing a good deed. Am I the jerk for canceling the babysitter after my wife decided not to attend my work holiday party? I'm 38, male. My work held our annual holiday party last Friday. It was held at one of those axe-throwing places which I had never been to before, so I figured it would be pretty fun. My wife, who's 36, and I have 3 kids who are 10, 8, and 5, so we don't get out of the house for dates very often. The holiday party was planned almost 2 months ago, and my wife agreed to attend with me. I suggested we make it more of a date by either going out for drinks after the party or catching a late-night movie. She thought this sounded like a good idea too. I also arranged for a babysitter to come watch the kids for that night. The day of the party, my wife got home from work and told me that she had a horrible day and was in a bad space mentally, so she didn't want to come to the party. I told her I was really disappointed, but I understand if she wants to stay home. As I was getting myself ready to head to the party, I called the babysitter and canceled. I apologized to her and offered to Venmo her an hour's worth of our agreed rate, $30, to compensate for the cancellation, and she agreed that was reasonable. As I was getting ready to leave, my wife asked when the babysitter was going to get here. I kind of looked at her funny and told her I had just canceled the babysitter because she was no longer coming with me. She got mad at me and told me that I knew she had a bad day and was in a bad mental state and needed some time to herself. I told her that I had assumed none of that meant she was incapable of watching our kids and that I didn't think having the babysitter come over when my wife was still home made any sense. She told me to call her back and see if she could still come watch the kids, and I told her that if she wanted to do that, then she can do it, but I'm not going to. She tried to argue with me about it, but I told her that I had to leave for the party. While I was at the party, she sent me multiple texts about how the kids were driving her nuts and that the babysitter didn't answer her calls and she needed me to come home. She kept blowing up my phone, and I eventually left the party over an hour early to go home. When I got there, she kept arguing with me about how I was the jerk for canceling the babysitter when I knew she had had a rough day. I told her I wasn't going to pay a babysitter just so my wife can rest after a bad day. I told her she could have just thrown a movie on for the kids and relaxed. I told her she was the one who ruined our potential night out and that having a bad day at work is not a good enough reason to pay a babysitter $150 to $200. She still thinks I was the jerk for canceling the babysitter without talking to her first, and she's still mad at me for it. But I don't think that was an unreasonable assumption to make, considering the fact that there have been plenty of times when I've had a bad day and I'm still capable of watching the kids by myself while my wife leaves the house. Edit. Hey everyone, can we cool it with the purely speculative cheating angle? My wife goes to yoga class with 5 other moms from our neighborhood. So unless they're all stepping out on their husbands or all in cahoots together, she's not cheating. Our neighborhood isn't some reality TV show, and real life isn't like that. She's an introvert, and when she gets to her social limit, she doesn't want to go out. It's happened before, which is why I didn't push her to come out with me. For all the parents and/or folks who aren't independently wealthy responding "you're the jerk," please ask yourself this. When was the last time, after having a rough day at work, that you decided it was a good reason to spend $150 to $200 on a babysitter so you could stay home with your kids and the babysitter? Never? Then shut up. Of course, OP, the person who made all the arrangements for their long-planned and much-anticipated date, canceled the babysitter because he hired her based on the fact that no parents were going to be home to watch the kids. Now that one of the kids' parents was going to stay home and never suggested they needed the help with a sitter with their own kids, why on earth would he waste $150 on this? That cash can be put towards a sitter when they are both able to go out. Not the jerk. Use my email as your spam dump? Prepare to be carpet bombed. One day, many years ago, I got an email addressed to someone who had the same first initial and last name as I do. For the purpose of this story, I'll call him G-Man. As with anyone who uses a common email address, think first initial and last name, you sometimes get an email that isn't for you. It was mostly incidental things, like receipts and the occasional personal email. I was chalking them up to being a data entry error. Perhaps they misheard the email address, and instead of typing in his, they typed in mine. No big deal. In the cases where I could, I'd politely reply to the sender and let them know that I wasn't the intended recipient, and to please let G-Man know that he's giving out the wrong email address going forward. It was never successful. I'd still get emails for G-Man, and it was for things that I'd think you'd want to receive, like order receipts or something that had a confirmation number attached to it. I tried to track down G-Man, but to no avail. There were multiple people on social media with his name, so I could never 100% confirm which one he might have been. As this went on for years and years, until finally one day I got a personal email addressed to G-Man that referenced the company he worked for. Aha! Now I had something. I looked him up. It turns out that G-Man is the systems manager at said company. His LinkedIn bio says that he's an IT professional. That's interesting. I find his company email and forward him the email, also advising him that the other address he's using is attached to another person, and it would be great if he could be more mindful of what he's typing in or giving out. Again, I was polite in my request to him. He replied and apologized. I thought, it's finally over. But it wasn't over. Oh no, far from it. The emails I received that were addressed to G-Man actually began to increase in volume. Now I'm getting emails from mailing lists and account signups and all sorts of other crap. This guy, the so-called IT professional, is clearly using my email address as his spam dump, knowing that it went to an actual person. I would have to sort through dozens upon dozens of emails daily as a result of this, and as we all know, once you're on one mailing list, you tend to end up on a lot more of them. By now, I've decided that clearly this clown is deliberately being a jerk, so it's gloves off and game on. I decide to extract revenge at any opportunity. It started out simple enough. If I got an account sign up, I'd click the link to verify it and then promptly log in and deactivate the account. It worked for a bit, but then there would be another sign up, so I got more creative. I'd log into the account, change all the information, and most importantly, the password, which would leave the account active but totally inaccessible since any attempt at password recovery sent the email to my account, which was then promptly ignored and deleted. Hotel booking? I'd log on and cancel it the day before he was due to arrive. I'm guessing he never got noticed though, since it was all coming to my email. Basically, anything I could do that would inconvenience G-Man, I'd do it. This back and forth continued on for years. In fact, I still occasionally get emails for the guy. Then one day it happened. I got an email receipt for an order that G-Man had placed. It had the recipient's name and address, but more importantly, it had G-Man's address on it. I've got a golden ticket. I finally had the means of the ultimate revenge. I took his address and I signed him up for everything I could. Free samples of things that he wouldn't have any use for. Catalogs that he definitely wouldn't want. I spent an entire day finding anything I could enter his address into and filled out all of them. But the coup de grace, the cherry on top, when I was finding things to sign up for, I stumbled onto a website that allowed you to order free flooring samples. They'd be various sizes, but but some were 12 by 12 squares. Carpet, tile, wood, linoleum, whatever. I signed G-Man up for every sample I could. Then I found another site offering the same thing, and I did it again and again, up until the point where I literally lost track of how many free flooring samples I signed him up for. My guess? It was easily in the hundreds, if not thousands. I literally carpet bombed G-Man. Coincidentally, the email volume certainly decreased. I never heard from G-Man either. Maybe he deleted my initial email and forgot, or maybe he was buried under all those flooring samples. Either way, I'm sure once they started to arrive, he realized his mistake. I bet to this day he still gets items delivered to his address. My wife wants to name our baby after her deceased ex-boyfriend. When my wife and I met, she had broken up with her boyfriend almost a year prior. We went on a couple of dates until I noticed she slowly stopped talking to me. I found out she had gotten back with her boyfriend. We remained friendly since we would run into each other at the gym. That's how we met. A year later, they break up. I decided to go for it again and asked her out. She was pretty upfront about him, and I learned that they had been on and off again for almost 4 years. She left him because he started mistreating her. We get married a little over a year later. A few months later, she gets pregnant. Last week, I was sitting in the kitchen studying until I heard my wife yell out, crying. I ran over to her to ask what was wrong. She had difficulty speaking, but she eventually showed me a post on Facebook that a mutual friend between her and her ex had posted. Her ex had been in a motorcycle accident and had passed. My wife was/is an avid motorcyclist who stopped riding when she got pregnant. She knew how passionate he was about motorcycle riding just as much as her. I console my wife and help her get to bed, letting her know that I'm here for her. I didn't think much about the whole thing until my wife told me last night that she wants to name our baby after him. I hesitated for a bit and told her that I feel uncomfortable with it. For one, this is your ex. Second, he mistreated you. Why would you want to honor someone like that? My wife got upset and just wouldn't hear me out on my reasons. She won't talk to me at all. Am I really in the wrong here? I'm just thinking that my wife is extremely emotional at the moment since she's pregnant and trying to process his passing. Any advice? Okay, I'll be the jerk here. Is this kid yours? She left you for him before. You got married very quickly and she got pregnant shortly after. It doesn't exactly sound like she was over him given her response and wanting to name the kid after him. Not the jerk. You are absolutely correct in not wanting to have your kid named after her ex. That's an incredibly disturbing thing to have to explain, which shouldn't even be an issue in the first place. I really hope she's just in a heightened emotional state right now, because this is very disrespectful to you and your marriage. OP. Yes, the kid is mine. When we started dating again, her ex moved back home to another state. We moved closer to our families too, right before we got married. Update. For Easter, we already had plans with her family to go to church and then have a barbecue at her sister's. Not wanting her family to see any tension, I saw this as a chance for her to have to speak to me. As we're getting ready for church, I tell her that we need to talk about everything now. She agreed and sat down with me. I did tell her that there's absolutely no way we're naming our baby after her ex, or any of our kids if we have more. She agreed and apologized for acting irrational. Also, I know a lot of you suggested that I get a paternity test. I know that I'm 100% the father. I didn't want anyone to get my anxiety up since, while it may seem rational, jumping into an extreme conclusion and making things worse. I thought it out, but I still did ask if she was in love with her ex still, and did she cheat? She adamantly said no. She had already stopped loving him even before they broke up. She tried to make the relationship work, but just wasn't in love with him anymore. She described him as not being a good person at all. She apologized for making me feel that way. I told her that I understand she's going through a lot of emotions right now and being pregnant doesn't help at all. But I had to ask on why she would want to name our baby after him, even after all she has told me. She started to get choked up and was shaking. I told her that she could tell me. She confessed that when her and her ex broke up, the last thing she told him was that she wished he would fall off of his bike and pass on. Also, the bike that he had been riding was one that she strongly suggested he buy, even though it wasn't his first choice. She also talked about how accidentally getting pregnant and her ex suddenly passing is a lot for her to handle. She wasn't expecting to be a mom so soon, and her life is about to change when she really didn't want it to. She talked about how she thought we'd travel and that she'd continue racing her motorcycle. Now, she's not even sure if she'd be able to ride again. She actually thought she might be able to ride again once she had the baby, but her ex passing reminded her of how much of a risk it is. She doesn't want to risk her life when she has a family. She feels gutted. Regardless, she kept stressing out to me on how she wouldn't change a thing about her life now and that she's happy to be married to me and is going to be a mom. We're the best things that have ever happened to her. Anxiety also runs in my wife's family. My wife gets intrusive thoughts about how her ex passed too. It's so bad that she has a hard time sleeping sometimes. After discussing things, she decided that she'll be going into therapy. She has her first appointment this week. Am I the jerk for forcing a sale of my late husband and his girlfriend's home? This has caused a lot of mixed reactions, and I want an unbiased opinion. Neither me nor my late husband and his girlfriend have kids. I, 35 female, got separated from my husband, 37 male, over 10 years ago. Unfortunately, he has left me with a lot of debt to pay and in a position where I was nearly homeless. I've only stopped paying the debt off 2 years ago, but there's still a lot of work to improve my credit history. Because of all the stress he caused me, we never got divorced or formally separated. A matter of fact is, we never spoke after I was kicked out from the flat, so his girlfriend, Anna, could move in. I was planning to file for divorce once I have enough spare income, but some events took place before I was able to do so. Now to where I can be a jerk. 2 months ago, my husband passed in a freak accident. He left no will behind and has a house which is paid off with his girlfriend. He ended up having a big promotion at work. I've spoken to the lawyer, and because we never divorced or filed for separation, I am entitled to half of the house as his next of kin. Last week, I've informed Anna through a letter that I want the house to be sold. She can either buy my half or I will have to force a sale. It's up to her. I don't want to live in the house, but the money from the sale could really help out to sort out the damage done by the loans I had to pay for my ex, as well as a deposit for my own place, so I don't have to live in horrible apartments due to poor credit and not having a high-paying job. It will also help me to work on my qualifications so I can get a better job in retirement. However, Anna and my ex's family have called me a massive jerk, saying I have no right to the house. Legally, I do, and that I'm being cruel and vindictive. I've reminded them that it's not my fault that their son hasn't divorced me or had a will, and said that I don't see how it's unfair as I had to pay for his debts while he lived a comfy life. So Reddit, am I the jerk? Edit. I have seen this coming up as a question a few times and don't want to keep responding with the same comment. My ex has maxed out my credit cards and took loans in my name, as well as cleared our savings account to fund his relationship with Anna and some of his gambling habits at the time. Regarding the house, both Anna and my ex are on the deed and had joint mortgage from what I was told, so legally she is entitled to the other half of the house. Not the jerk. You owe nothing to her. Sell the house and be done with it. Also, stop paying his debts if they are not also your debts. By paying them, some companies can assume you're admitting to the debts as your own. They will try to get you to pay, but you should fight it if you can. And why only half? If you have no kids, shouldn't you be getting the whole house as next of kin? Imagine your spouse loves singing karaoke, but you're too nervous to sing it with them. You won't believe what happens next. That's exactly what happens in our next story. It just popped up on your screen. Give it a tap, come have a listen. Karen and I are already waiting for you.